Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the final round of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing here live on GlacierTV. As it's been a crazy the entire season, Will Vinton alongside Marius Gollenbeck. And Marius, we're here at the final round here at Suzuka, but we're ending our season on a very tough racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely, and welcome from me as well. We're coming from Spa-Francorchamps, so the ending of this series will be on the classical F1 tracks. It is Richie Stanaway who carries 40-point lead into the last race here as championship leader, so he pretty much only has to finish this race mediocrely to finish the series and win the biggest prize here in the Pro Series, and of course get his DWC license. Behind him, however, it is going very close as Morgan Filo, Davide Korb, Emil Spindel and also Enzo Bonito are fighting for the second position in the championship, and there's still a couple of positions also behind them left open, and we will not forget the top 5, of course, with the cash prizes, and every position counts tonight, and we're going to have a packed race at Suzuka, that's for sure.
Indeed, yeah, and we're going to get some live photos from Suzuka International Racing Course in a couple of moments' time. Track length 3.61 miles, 17 corners at this racetrack. Qualifying taking place at the moment. No drivers have yet set a qualifying time, but you've got a couple of drivers warming up for the lap. Yeah, Ibrizzo is on his lap in the 60 car. We've also got Timo Raven and Yuda Narumi on the racetrack now. So having a look at the number 22 car of Andrea Boldi there. He is working himself down towards the hairpin. By the looks of it, yes, down to 180 degrees left hand. You've got to be very careful when you come out of this corner. I've seen so often in practice drivers struggling to get a balance, snapping loose on the exit of that corner. As now Boldi working himself along this back straightaway down towards the spoon curve. Perhaps one of the most difficult corners of the racetrack for qualifying, because you really can't go wide on this racetrack if you want to have your lap counted. And Boldi pretty good so far, but we'll come to certain sectors of that racetrack at the moment. He's setting himself down to 130 yard now, and then he'll make himself down into Casino Triangle, a very big braking zone there for Boldi to complete his first lap of the day. He's braking himself now all the way down into 55 miles an hour as he enters the corner, builds the speed up coming out of it. Past start finish line he goes, and so far we've had PJ Sturgis and Marcus Caton set a time. Andrea Boldi in the 22 car goes into 4th position, a 1 minute 31.825, and all of a sudden Marius Richie Stanaway right back where he left off last time, a 1 minute 30.151 for his first lap of the day.
Yeah, Stanaway, one of the first guys here to complete a lap, 1 minute 30.1, should be a solid first lap for the New Zealand driver. Yuda Narumi put in a lap as well, 1 minute 30.205. And we may not forget, you said it already, Suzuka being one of the most difficult tracks here in the F1. Of course, being a relatively classic venue, been driven in the F1 series for years and years. So most of the drivers know the track by heart, and it's not going to be a big issue here being surprised. However, the race is still going to be around 1 hour 15 long. We've got a very packed race here ahead, and we've seen it on Spa. It is getting closer and closer. The guys are just getting closer with the times, they are closer with performance, and now that the series ends, like we see in the championship. We've got a couple of positions still open, and there's going to be a packed fight there, not only for the cash positions, but also, Will, we have to say the top 25 are going to be rewarded with the DWC license there, the DWC starting in March. And we've got around 15 positions here on the bubble, so a couple of drivers are safe, and a couple of drivers are, yeah, not exactly safe, but they have to get a good result and to stay in the top 25.
Indeed, yes, and that is the important part. These drivers are racing not only for money, they're also racing for the chance to be a member of the 2013 iRacing.com Grand Prix World Championship Series. We'll talk a little bit about that after qualifying has completed. Timo Evening, we've been having a look at him in the 59 car. He is down into the casino triangle. You see he's using a little bit of curve there. The car does get unsettled over those bumps a little bit though. He then has to come down that right hill final corner. He's got to be careful to get into the power there. Also, as he comes past the start finish line, what's it going to be for Timo Evening? It's a 1 minute 31.406, so he's in 11th position for the time being. Out front it is Richie Stanaway with just 5/100ths of a second gap to Yuda Narumi. Narumi is about to start a lap, so we're going to go have a look with him in the 76 cars. He's working his way down into turn number 1 and 2. Turn number 1 almost flat out in qualifying. Turn 2 slow it down to about 100 miles an hour. Mogard DG Philo is about to complete that in his first lap of the day. We'll keep an eye out. I'll see where he goes, and it's provisional pole, 1 minute 30.113 from Mogard DG Philo. So a good showing by Philo right now, and of course we're also waiting to see what Emil Spindell's likely to do here.
Yeah, especially for Philo here, he's got the second position in the championship, so he's not exactly out of the battle for the win here, but we said it 42 points behind Richie Stanaway, and you only got 50 for the win. So technically, Moga has to win this one, and Stanaway may not score more than 7 points, because even with a tiebreaker, Stanaway would have this one. And realistically speaking, Richie Stanaway just has to drive this home, and he's got yeah, very good gap to Philo, De Korp, Spindle and Bonito. However, Spindle win 4th position in the championship, 227 points, David De Korp 240 and Moga Philo 259. So between Spindle and Philo, there's nothing really decided, because the point structure allows these drivers to really fight for the position, because, for example, 50 positions for the first and 40 for the second, and that's a 10-point gap already as Richie Stanaway sets the pole position.
Yep, he goes even faster, the first driver into 1 minute 29, so 1 minute 29.891 for Richie Stanaway. Yuda Narumi coming past the start finish line once again. What's it going to be for him? It is a 1 minute 30.094, so up provisionally into the second position for him. Going to go immediately and check on Emil Spindell. He's working his way out of the spoon curve. Now this long back straightaway down into the 130R left-hander corner. And for Emil Spindell now, he is going to move himself now into the casino triangle. For Spindell, he's only got himself one more lap after this to get the job done. Bouncing heavily over the curve as he works his way out of the casino triangle. Emil Spindell in the 33 car. What's it going to be for him? All the way down to the inside line, trying to make it as tight as possible out of the final corner. And it is a 1 minute 30.164 for him. He will only get 4th position, Marius, because he's not going to do any more laps here today.
Yeah, and that is exactly the last lap here. Moga Philo coming across the start-finish line to start his last lap of the day, and as well Enzo Bonito currently only in 7th position on his last lap. So far, Richie Stanaway, 1 minute 29, the only guy here under the 1 minute 30, and already a 129.8 from the New Zealand driver from Team Redline. So good showing by him, and we're on board here. No, sorry, TV cams are focused on Moga DG Philo, who is 2nd in the championship. We cannot say that often enough, and currently 3rd on the grid. And well, if we take a look at Yuda Narumi, he's been having some strong races lately, and the problem for him is, though, he's mainly out of contention for the championship as well for the top 5. So he's 48 points down, Enzo Bonito, and he's as Moga Philo ruins his lap here, and that's surely not going to be better. So 3rd place or worse.
Yep, and Philo there, he is going to just drop it at the end of the hairpin, and he lost it on the exit of Denga number 2, and we'll come back to that. There's a number of places on this track these drivers have to be very, very careful. We're going to check immediately in with Enzo Bonito in the 73 car, working his way down into the casino triangle for him at 50 miles an hour on the apex of that corner. Now, you see the wiggle as he comes down the hill. It's very scary, that last corner there. Enzo Bonito, as he comes past the start finish line, what's it going to be for him? And it's a 1 minute 30.221, but Marius, that could have been at least a 10th of a second faster had he have not had that huge wiggle at the exit of the casino triangle.
Yeah, that was very close to crash indeed. So you want to get the power down. You already said it, out of the slower turns. The F1 car definitely has some grip issues. But 5th position so far. Good result once again for the Italian here. And a strong result so far as well for his team. iRacing here currently in 5th with Enzo Benito, in 6th with Simon Gattel, 9th for Dave Geeling and 11th for PJ Sturgis. Jason Levitt completing that team with place 13 so far, so it doesn't look too bad for iRacing here. Only Timo Ivonen quite a bit off there in 16, but it looks like they've come into contention since Indy.
Yeah, they really have, and of course, you don't remember, this is his home track as well, so the home crowd advantage is working for him today. Pretty much every drivers have done their laps now. Dave Geeling is just past the start-finish line. He 9th position for him, not bad. Paul Ilbrink has done his laps. He is sat in the 15th position. Miguel Martin is working his way for what is his last lap of the day in that 79 car, coming out of the hairpin, walking himself now down towards the spoon curve. Meanwhile, we're checking in very quickly on Max Delorco. He's starting his final lap as he works his way through the S's. Just look at the position you have to have as you come through this. First to the left, then to the right. You get a little bit of an acceleration zone, then back to the left once again. Have to slow the car down a little bit for here to get a good line out of it. As you now come all the way left, up the Dunlop curve. Use that curve a tiny bit on exit, but not too much. All left, 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 and now you flick it down 2 gears to the right-hand side for Denga number 1. Brake it down into 2nd gear for Denga 2. Exit, use as much curb as possible, but Delorco took a little bit too much there, as now he comes down into the hairpin. 2nd slowest corner on the racetrack, down to 50 miles an hour as you come through the 180-degree left-hand apex. Build the speed up one more time as you're now entering the position for the spoon curve. The 2-stage corner once again, a bit like the Dengers. First one, left-hander, very fast. Use curve on both entry and exit. Then the second part, you use as much curve, but Delorco goes wide and into the wall there. Delorco's lap is over and done with. And Marius, that spoon curve has really been a tough place for these drivers all season long. And for Max Delorco, that's going to be hugely disappointing for him.
Yeah, not only disappointing for him right there, 7th position on the grid, but he's also one of the drivers who came from the DWC or the WCS from the last season. So he's, just to qualify again, if you will, for the Drivers' World Championship. And currently he is with 50 points right off the bubble, if you will. Miguel Martin currently the last position here for the WCS, 84 points. So he's 34 points off, and he needs to have a really good showing today to get at least Wes Richards, who's the first one to not get into the WCS, and it's going to be a very close call for Max Delorco, because he hasn't shown for only half of the races, so no points scored for him, and with 50 points he's really lacking the points now to make it back in.
And to add a curveball into that, we've been getting word from our people down on pit road that actually it's going to be 26 people who are qualifying for the World Championship Series, because one of the drivers who was in the World Championship Series last year, Ronan Armstrong, we believe, is not racing this time around, so that opens up another spot. And Marius, coming into this broadcast, you and I talked about before how it looked as though perhaps Wes Richards stood the best chance, but he had to have a really good race. If one extra position comes along, that's going to be a hugely intense battle for that final position.
Yeah, absolutely, and as well as the guys ahead, really, they are not so safe. So if one of the drivers has a bad race today, if just a little start crash could be enough to ruin your race already, that will take you out of contention, and it's not that far to the bubble. And if we take a look at Miguel Martin and Wes Richards, Martin currently 84 points, and if we think 50 points ahead of him, that is Alexi Usiakola, and he's already in the top 10. So 15 people here, not exactly on the bubble, but still in danger of losing that ticket to the next year's Drivers' World Championship Series, and the highest series, the highest sanctioned series in iRacing, and one of the most prestigious events in sim racing. So you might not risk it to the last round here, so if you have, it's going to be tricky, because we said it once again, the starts are one of the critical points, and you might lose your ticket already in the first turn.
Yep, and to run through then, final confirmation of the results for qualifying for the final round of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing for 2012. Richie Stanaway with yet another pole position, a 1:29.891. Yuda Narumi in second with a 1 minute 30.094. Mogar DG Filo in third, and will spin down in fourth. Enzo Benito rounding out your top five. And then Simon Cattell, Max Delorco, Yoni Samala, Dave Geelink, and Marcus Caton are drivers 6 through 10. In 11th is PJ Sturgis, 12th Miguel Martin, 13th Jesper Pedersen, 14th Jason Lover, 15th Christian Laurent, 16th is Paul Ilbrink, Timo Even in 17th, Pierre Ibrito in 18th, Leslie Zatev in 19th, Ken Leach in 20th, Ryan Terpstra and Andrea Boldy, the last of the two cars to qualify, and then Hal Pinot and Wes Richards did not set a qualifying time. Very quickly, Marius, we talk about, you know, drivers having to have a good race and a clean race to pick up points here today. With the exception of Watkins Glen, we've had some very clean racing, but turn number one here, possibly one of the scariest turn ones in all of motorsports. You take turn one pretty much flat out, and then that braking zone for turn number two, despite the fact that it's very wide off the racetrack, you know, there's always the chance for things to happen.
Yeah, Suzuka being, not a kind of modern F1 track, if you will. So we're going to show you the track a bit more. You will see this is one of the last few natural tracks, really. So forget about the Tilke tracks with 30 meters runoff area to each side. A mistake will cost you more than on other tracks, definitely. And we're going to show you a track from the CST Ajira team here, a track preview, and you will take a look at how difficult it will be for the drivers here to complete the 53 laps here at Suzuka Circuit today in the last round of the Pro Series.
Hello and welcome to CST IRA Track Guides. Today we are going to look at one of the best circuits in the world, Suzuka. The track has a rare figure 8 layout and it was designed by Toon Hogenholz in 1962. Hogenholz also designed the Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands. Suzuka is a favorite of many drivers, both in sim and real-life racing. Since 1980s, it has often been the last venue of the Formula One World Championship. Many can remember the thrilling battles that eventually decided the championship. The first section has a really beautiful natural flow. The drivers go through quick direction and elevation changes, and finally powering through Dunlop curve. The final sector consists of 2 long straights, and just before the finish line, the drivers need to brake hard for the Glacier Triangle. A high downforce and relatively stiff suspension is required, especially in the first half of the lap. In the second half, straight line speed and braking balance play an important role. The best overtaking possibilities are when braking the first curve and the Glacier Triangle. Now we'll let Petteri Kotovaara drive and tell us how to do a good lap here.
Running over 300 km per hour towards to the first turn of SS. Staying as close on the curbs as you can. And here we go. Left, right, left, right. You gotta stay on the right line, otherwise few tenths adds to your lap time. Try to stay very smooth with the steering for uphill, car gets loose very easy there. Heading to the Tegner 1. Just downshift 1 gear and slow down more for Tegner 2. Stride the car into the hairpin and turn the car with throttle and avoid the wheel spin. Full throttle all the way until you see the spoon. First turn is fast and next one much slower with huge understeer whole turn. You need to fight with the car. Heading to the 130R, it goes flat out. Brake before bridge and hit the curbs hard on the chicane. Easy on the throttle with clean exit. Car gets pretty oversteer there. And lap is done. Thank you and see you on Saturday.
So welcome back to Suzuka and the GlacierTV pre-race show for the final round of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Will Vincent and Marius Collenbeck along for the ride, and just having a look at the top 20 in drivers' points. We've talked about this already, Marius. Richie Stanaway today pretty much just needs to get past lap 1, and he's going to be the champion here today. Mogo DG Filo really is battling David Kopter and Emil Spindel in that battle for the second position.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys fought a great fight, and we had a great season so far, not to forget the races at Road to America, where the top 4 you see in the championship had a race, and I think they finished all within 2.5 seconds. So you see the point standings on your screen. Richie Stanaway takes the first position here into the last race, 301 points, the only guy ahead of Mogadigi Filo in second, 259. Davide Korps in third, 240, and then you see it's getting closer and closer. Spindler to still in contention here for the top 3, even the second position. And then we've got a big gap, so Yudan Narumi is pretty much out for the top 5 already. Simon Cattell, PJ Sturgis, Dave Geeling, Alexius Iacola, even Vasily Zaitsev and Thiago Afau still in the possibility of getting the 6th position here, but so far good qualifying from both Narumi and Cattell. Sturgis and Geeling struggling a little bit, but we know these guys are strong in the race, so we're going to see about that. Taking a look at the top 20, more down, Ryan Terpstra in 20th position, Andrea Baldi in 19, Joao Cardoso in 18. They not exactly have to fear for their spot in the WCS 2013, but it's not going to be an easy job for them. They still have to put in a solid result to really be safe. As, for example, Max Del Orco, we talked about him, he needs to get 5th position to push Wes Richards out and secure his last position for the next WCS series. And it's going to be close for him. He has got a good starting position with 7th, but he's pretty much in and out for the whole series, so maybe not exactly in the zone as the drivers around him. And he's good at Suzuka, that's for sure. He's raced the DWC here last year, so he should know this track. He should be fast enough, but it's still going to be a tough job for Del Orco.
And of course, there are a number of drivers who are guaranteed positions in the 2013 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, and that is Richie Stanaway, Mogar DG Filo, David Korps, Emil Spindel, Enzo Benito, Yuda Narumi, Simon Cattell, PJ Sturgeoff, Dave Geeling, Alexei Siakola, Vasily Zaitsev, Thiago Alfaro, and Jasper Pedersen. They are all guaranteed spots, and they will be matched up with the drivers from the top 25 of last year's World Championship Series, and they make up the first part of your field. Don't forget, 25, we believe it's actually now 26 drivers who are going to qualify for the 2013 World Championship Series. And currently on that bubble, you've got Miguel Martin in the 25th position with 84 points, Wes Richards in 26 with 67 points, Xavier Bussoms with 59, Fabio De Carme 57, Ken Leach 52, and Max Del Orco has got himself 50 points coming into this race. Samuel Lebert and Lauren Bettil are out of it. And you have to say there's different agendas here today then, Murray. Some of these drivers are now just racing for the hell of it. You've got some drivers still battling for the top 5. That battle, however, for those last qualifying positions is going to be very interesting, especially with the pace of Max Del Orco.
Absolutely, and Del Orco being about 800 of Simon Cattell ahead of him, and Cattell won't make it too easy for him, because we've seen the championship standings, and Cattell is one of the guys here who could make up one or another position in the championship, so he's not going to let Max Del Orco pass. Ahead of them, Enzo Bonito, another guy fighting for the championship here, so Del Orco won't get past him so easily, and behind him, Joni Termele with a great 8th position here, Dave Geeling, another great 9th position for him, and also Marcus Kett and PJ Sturgis. These guys are still looking to score as much points as possible to secure a good position in the championship, because even if you're out of the price ranges, this is still about prestige. Even if you've got your ticket for the WCS safe, this is still about prestige. You're still racing for fun, and you still want to get the best out of it. So Del Orco won't get a run through the grid, and he still needs to get 5th, and a good start could get him one or another position, but from then on it's going to be a very difficult race for the Italian.
And you make a very good point now as well. It's about not just about the fact you're in the top 25, job done. None of these drivers are racing for prestige, and also they've got their sponsors to please. Just this previous week, we heard that CSG have parted ways with Assura Racing. They're looking for new sponsorship. Other teams will be looking for sponsorship for the 2013 World Championship Series. And for potential sponsors, you never know when they're going to be paying attention. They could be looking at this race, and the last thing you're going to want to do is put in a bad performance and potentially get rid of sponsorship opportunities. And in reality, though, we're going to have to say Stanaway he's pretty much going to be champion by the end of the day, barring a minor miracle.
Yeah, it's going to be a good race for him today, that's for sure. He's starting from pole position here, so he's got the best chance here to securing the race victory. He's had the victory at Spa-Francorchamps the last round 1 week ago, and David Ducorp has been second there, Emil Spindler third, and Moga Filho fourth. And for the entire season, Will, we've seen these five guys together with Yuday Narumi ahead of the pack. We've seen Enzo Bonito with some strong showings, and Simon Gattel, Deep Geeling always looking to get into the top 5 as soon as one of these guys makes a mistake. But taking a look at how the next WCS series will be, I think with Stanaway, Ducorp, Spindle, Filho, Narumi, this is going to be a lot tougher than it was this year, because just a couple of drivers here starting in their iRacing career this year or maybe last year, not exactly in the service yet, and they're going to get the boost they need to get into the top range series, really. And we've got the veteran drivers, Hugo Lewis, Gregor Hutu, all the guys racing this for several years and already competed in one full championship. And with these guys, it's going to be a lot more interesting.
Indeed, yes, and don't forget, we announced it first on Monday that GlacierTV will be bringing you 14 of the 16 rounds of the 2013 World Championship Series. So all of these drivers, you can follow their journey with us. We'll be starting our coverage from the third round of the championship, taking you all the way through to the end of the season. And meanwhile, we are going to pop away for a moment and we'll be right back.
I can tell you about iRacing's precision-engineered cars. I can tell you about iRacing's authentically detailed tracks. I can tell you about iRacing's incredibly satisfying physics. But what I can't tell you is what it's like to be part of this.
So welcome back to the GlacierTV pre-race show for the final round of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. for those of you who have just joined us, where have you been all this time? However, to run through your top 10 one more time, Richie Stanaway, Yudo Rumi, Mogo DG Filo, Emil Spindell, and Enzo Benito, they are your top 5 drivers for this race. And Marius, I'm going to ask you now to save me asking you later on, who's going to win today? Is Stanaway going to do it, Narumi, or will Mogo DG Filo finally get a win?
I remember a talk we had with Richie Stanaway in the post-race show from Spa last week. So we've been asking him how he's going to attack this race, if he's just going to go for safety or if he's really going to go for another race victory here. And to be honest, well, by the looks of it, getting the pole position once again here with the only one in the 129s here, I think Richie Stanaway is going for the race victory here. He's going to get a difficult race with Philo and the Corps and the likes behind him, but I think he's going to have it because the guy is hungry and he's definitely got the eyes on the victory here once again. And yeah, my bet is on Richie Stanaway.
And we're going to go green in about 5 minutes' time. We'll be bringing you some photos, some images actually, from Suzuka International Racing Course in just a couple of moments' time. And we've talked about this track. We've seen the video from Azura Racing. In my opinion, this track is one of the most difficult because it's flowing, and the way it works is it's a very narrow track for all these F1 cars, so you've really got to hit your apexes perfectly. Places like Denga 1, Denga 2, you know, turn 1 and 2, the spoon curve, the casino triangle, all these corners are very separate types of corners, but you've got to try and merge them all together for one lap and then do 53 of them. And really, I think we're going to see some high attrition here today, Marius.
Yeah, I could imagine that. This track doesn't leave any room for driver mistakes here, really. If you just get a mistake on a couple of tracks, taking a look at Road America or even Spa, you might get the shot at just running wide, running into the tarmac zones outside of the track, just trying to recover your car, even maybe going a bit over the grass. But at this track, taking a look at especially Denga, Spoon, if you put a wheel on the grass, if you put a wheel on the curb, if you cut the inside curb, basically anything off your ideal racing line is going to cost you, it's going to put you into a lot of trouble. And we've seen that in the qualifying, how Emil Spindle threw away his last lap, and it's such a little mistake really, and it could cost you not only a couple of seconds, but it can also very well end your race.
And the last thing these drivers are going to want to do, as we've talked about already, is throw away their entire season on this last round of the championship. And, you know, those drivers, I think, are going to have different game plans today if they're going to want to make it work for them. Drivers down the other end of the field, they are going to have to be slightly more aggressive. Perhaps use some aggressive strategy, perhaps make some big moves that they wouldn't do otherwise. But you're right, Stanaway, he did say he wanted to lead this race from the front and see where it goes from there. I think that if he was to fall behind drivers like Narumi or Philo in pit stops, I think he wouldn't push it too much. I think he would be happy where he is. But he did make that good point, but being up front, he can kind of control his own pace and then hope that things work out for the rest of his race for him. And, of course, being the last race of the pro season, these drivers are all going to want to go out on a high note. And for us here at Glacier, we'll actually be bringing you not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 races here today. Don't forget, we've got ourselves the Raw Before the 2.4. Start time for that is 6 PM GMT. That will be on channel number 1. Then, channel 2 at 8 PM. We're going to have ourselves the World Cup of iRacing. The road course finals are going to be on channel 2 from 8 PM GMT, and then the oval finals at 10 PM GMT on channel 1 here on Glacier. And drivers working their way around the racetrack. Andrea Boldy and Christian Laurent just trying a pit entry there, as with Jason Lover. Lovett doing a practice start once again. And we've seen a lot of drivers do that here this season, just trying to get themselves a practice start before they go to the grid, Marius. But who are you looking forward to seeing here today? There's so many stories. Who's that one driver you want to keep an eye on?
Yeah, you always try to pin me on one driver. I don't exactly want to keep an eye on one driver. I still want to keep an eye on what's going on at the top of the field. Stanaway, of course, in the pole position. Yuga and Rumi in the first row as well. Moga Filo in third. Emil Spindle completing the second row here. Enzo Benito in fifth. his teammate Simon Cattell with a great qualifying in 6th position. Max Delorco, Joni Termele, Dave Geeling, Marcus Catton completing the top 10. PJ Sturgis then position 11. Miguel Martin, another great qualifying from him, 12th position. Jesper Pedersen 13, Jason Lovett in 14, Christian Laurenti in 15, Paul Ilbrink 16, Timo Ivonen, Pierre Ubitsu, Vesely Taichev and Ken Leach completing the top 20 here. And we're looking to a great start once again, and we've seen that Stanway had a bit of an issue on Road America, for example, with the start. So we're going to take a look at how it's going to go this time by, because Philo behind him is a good starter, Spindler especially is a good starter, and also Narumi has had some moments at the start. The starting grid, the starting straight is wide enough to make a pass before turn 1, but you will have to nail it, and after that you will just have to follow.
Yeah, and indeed, don't forget as well, this track is actually downhill for the start. So these drivers, it's going to make things a little bit interesting for them. It does not much, but it's still a notable difference. The drivers now lining themselves up onto the grid. That run down into turn 1 and turn number 2 is going to be incredibly intense. Stanway on pole position, Rumi in second. He's actually will have the inside line if he gets himself a good start. Mogard DG Philo in third, waiting for those lights to go on. The iRacing.com gantry for the final time this season. They're going to go red, and then for the final time this season, those lights are going to go green, and we're racing here at Suzuka. Philo getting a good start, but a lot of wheel spin there, and you see Stanway 100% so heavy there, blocking the room a little bit as they run down into turn number 1, and they all get through okay. But I tell you what, very aggressive start there by Richie Stanway. You've got a crash towards the rear of the field.
I think Paul Ilbrink in both days rear wing slightly bent, but everything okay at the front of the pack. And Jason Levitt is off, trying to overtake in the S's there, keeping the car off the curb there and just going straight to the gravel. Losing a couple of positions there definitely, but at the front of the pack everything looks clean so far. Stanway with a good start, able to fight off Narumi, and Enzo Benito tried it around the outside in turn 1, didn't get past Emil Spindler, and already Stanway's got a quite big gap there for half a lap, and he's just looking to get out of the slipstream range here and try to make his own range. As well, we know he's one of the guys who struggles in the first couple of laps, but as soon as he's into the race stint, it's just going to get better and better for Richie Stanway.
Yeah, and that 72 red line car, we've talked all season long how he really has to push those first couple of laps. He said before he doesn't really like the balance of the race car. However, you don't really in the second position. He's got a long straightaway lap, try and close with that draft to work his way down into the 130R for the first time. Meanwhile, behind them, Jason Lovett once again trying to go on the move. I believe he's been able to just stay ahead of Wes Richards, but he's battling with Alpino and Andrea Boldi. But as they come at the Casino Triangle for the first time, it is Richie Stanway from Yudan Rumi, Mogard DG Philo in third, Emma Spindle in fourth, Enzo Benito in fifth, Simon Cattell in seventh, and Max Delorco in seventh. He's trying to look down to the inside of Simon Cattell as they work their way down into turn 1. Not quite close enough to him. Tomano in 18th, Gilles in 9th, and Marcus Caton rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, Delorco definitely has to push here. He's going to get this told from his teammates as well, because he needs to get the 5th position here. And so far, Cattell and Bonito ahead of him are not exactly that close. So he's trying to charge down Simon Cattell as well, but it's just going to be so difficult to overtake once again. And I wonder which kind of pit strategy we're going to see here to just get you a little bit of an advantage. Maybe try to leapfrog one or the other driver. And we've seen a couple of races being decided in the pits here already, and I believe this will be no exception. Yeah, we've got some great battling going on for positions from about 7th all the way through to 10th positions on the racetrack. You've got Jonas Moore, Dave King, Marcus Caton, PJ Sturgis, all very closely separated on the racetrack at the moment. Dave King is catching this battle at the moment, and what is that? PJ Sturgis actually getting a very good run out of the spoon curve as ahead of him, Max Delorco, actually just struggling a little bit. This is now going to allow PJ Sturgis to get a run as they work their way down into the 130R once again. Will Sturgis try to stay with them and make the move as they come down into the Casino Triangle for the second time here today. PJ Sturgis not quite as low, but he's right on towards the rear of him, and of course he set himself up for another pass as they come into turn 1 and 2 if he's close enough, but very slow. Out of triangle is PJ Sturgis there, and it looks as though that the iRacing racing car is just not very good getting onto the power down that hill. Same issues with Simon Patel, his teammates, and they are currently sandwiching the 7th position, Max Delorco. At the top of the grid, however, Richie Stanaway blasting away 1.2 seconds ahead of Yudan Rumi, 1 minute 32.2 last lap, and all the guys behind him pretty much in the high 32 range. Morga Filo still in 3rd, trying to follow Emil Spindel in 4th, and Enzo Benito completing the top 5. So no changes there. The first change pretty much in the top 10 is Joni Termela, who dropped 2 positions. Let Peter Sturgis and Dave Geeling pass, and especially for Sturgis, as Dave Geeling puts the car sideways and loses the position to Termel again. Especially Sturgis had a great start here because he came from 11th, and Geeling tries to look down the inside, trying to regain his position, now getting squarely out of the hairpin, not working for him, and right behind these guys is Jesper Pedersen, now getting the run down into Spoon, might look down the inside if he's close enough, trying to get around the outside now. Definitely going to be very close for Jesper Pedersen. He's trying it. He's just trying to put his nose in, but that's not going to work. And that's going to get Termela just as far away as he needs to be to not get an attack from Geeling again. And Termela goes back from 10th into 9th position.
That was close coming into Spoon Club between Jesper Pedersen and Dave Geeling. And it's not the place where you really want to try and make a pass in Spoon Club. It's a very fast first apex. And the only way that you normally get past is right on the rear of Joni Termela there was Dave Geeling in this battle for what is essentially 8th and 9th position on the racetrack. We're having a look on board with Justin Pedersen as they come past the start-finish line once again. And in fact, Pedersen's getting a very good run now as they're working their way down in turn 1. Not quite close enough to make the pass on the inside, however. And it looks as though that, as has been the case with drivers already, that if you don't get a good run out of the triangle, then these drivers are suffering all the way down. And I think on cold tyres as well, drivers are struggling just a little bit to put that power down, coming out of the hairpin, coming out of the spoon curve, and coming out of the casino triangle. And Dave Geeling lost himself a full 6/10 of a second after being right on the rear of Joni Termela as they came into that corner. A little bit further ahead of them is still Richie Stanaway, now with a 1.5 second gap over Yudan Rumi in the 2nd position. Mogar DT Fido a further 1 second back in 3rd, also down in 4th, 3.8 seconds behind the race leader, and Enzo Benito 4.2 seconds behind the race leader as well. We're going to keep a very close eye throughout this race on Max Delorco. He's still on that 7th position, and we have seen that Delorco has tried some very interesting strategies all season long. If he's going to do one today, he's going to have to pray that it is the right one.
Yeah, he has to make this work because he is the guy on the double here, and if he needs to get a position here, he already needs to risk 100% here. He's not exactly close enough to Simon Cattell or Enzo Benito, but this race is 53 laps long and we're only completing lap 4 this time by, so he has got plenty of time, but he may not lose it to the guys ahead. We've seen it, the battle between Geeling and Termela, and now Termela is already 2.5 seconds down to top 8, and that's just been a tiny little battle.
Yeah, and there's so many little battles going on this racetrack, and of course, as I said early on in this broadcast, different people are going to have different agendas here today. Some drivers just want to keep it with as many points as possible to get themselves into the top 25, 26, whatever you want to call it, to get themselves entry into the 2013 World Championship soon. So other drivers, like people like Max Delorco, they are going to have to go to pass. And for Delorco, I think if he gets up behind the rear of the cars, he will have to make some moves, and I think strategy might come into play on that as well. Delorco, as we say, he's 7.2 seconds behind the race lead in that 52 car. He needs to get himself, we think, into the 5th position, and that means he's only about 2 seconds away from that, but 2 seconds on this racetrack, man, is a very big amount of time to make up.
Definitely, and taking a look at the top of the field, Richie Stanaway struggling a little bit. It seems like he's not yet in his zone. He's not really overcome this first couple of laps difficulties he had. Yudan Rumi setting the fastest lap of the race last time by, and he's closing in a little bit on Richie Stanaway, and we've seen it in a couple of races already. You need to close in, you need to hold about 1 to 1.5 seconds of a gap, and you may not drop outside of that, because if you do, you're going to lose the draft, you're going to lose the little bit of extra speed you get on the straights. And taking a look at the lap times this time by again, Stanaway a 0.3, Yudan Rumi a 0.1, and Moga Filo as well a 0.3, so Filo currently on the pace of Stanaway, and Yudan Rumi the quickest guy in the field so far, 1.055 seconds for the Japanese driver here for for Nexus Esports, and he needs to get as close as he can, because as soon as Stanaway gets into this, he's just going to get quicker and quicker, and there's going to be a point when Yudan Rumi can't exactly keep up anymore.
And to help in the roomy, we have got those 2 long straightaways as well. You've got the long straightaway, and then you also have that very long one all the way from the exit of Spoon Curve down through the 130 up into the Casino Triangle, which is Stanaway's last lap a 1:32.319. Compare that to Yudan Rumi's last lap of a 1:32.344. So absolutely nothing separating these 2 drivers on the racetrack at the moment. But as you alluded to, that red line car has always been a little bit sluggish in these first couple of stops. Let's not forget that Rumi last time did a different strategy. He came in a lot earlier than all the other drivers around him, and that essentially ruined a large portion of his race, mainly to the fact that he had to take so much from that middle stint that he lost so much time putting himself back into traffic. Richie Stanaway working his way down into the triangle once again, working on a lap number 6 of 53 here at Suzuka. And Stanaway, I tell you what, Stanaway's not using any curb at all on the apex of that corner. Having a look through a couple of these other drivers, Mogar DG Filo is using quite a bit of the curb, and I think that smoothness is what's going to help Stanaway later on in this race, because I think right now he's just preserving his tyres a little bit, keeping it all together, and he talks about not taking any risks. He's not taking any risks right now at all.
Yeah, and without taking risks, he is still the quickest guy currently in the field. Took another 3/10 off Yudaini Rumi there, so it's straight back to 1.4 seconds, in fact, between position 1 and 2. Mogar Filo second fastest together with Emil Spindel. They are both round the speed Richie Stanaway has at the moment, so 4 seconds separating the first 4 at the moment. And this is exactly the same situation we had on Spa. You need to make it stick to the first pit stop, and as soon as the first pit stop comes, you might run a strategy where you just short fuel the car for the middle stint. And as soon as you do that, you need to get the leapfrog done, you need to gain a position on the pit stop, and then just see how it goes. We've seen Enzo Bonito on a very different strategy last time by, and then retiring with technical difficulties. That hasn't worked for him so far, and it's just a difficult thing really, how to set up your car and how to make the strategy here. And once again, we're taking a look at Marcus Captain here. The battles in the mid-pack in this series have been intense the whole season long, so not exactly at the top. We've got the car separated by a couple of hundred, but also here Marcus Captain last time by 4/10 to Jasper Peters, 9/10 to Dave Gilling, and 1.4 seconds to Joni Tumbler. So from 9th to 12th, the guys are pretty much behind each other.
Yeah, and we've seen that all season long. We have a gaggle of cars who are very close to separated on the racetrack. Passing at this track is notoriously difficult, mainly because of the fact that you have sweeping bends into these apexes. For example, it's coming down to turn 1 and 2. Turn 2, in theory, you could pass that, but turn 1 so fast you can't really dip down to the inside until the last moment. The same applies for the hairpin, the same applies for the Casino Triangle, and it means that these drivers are really going to have to wait for any opportunity to get past, as we've seen earlier on in this race. So we're working our way now on lap number 8 of 53 here. The gap between Stanway and Yudan and Rumi, all of a sudden these previous 2 laps, Marius, are up to 2 seconds on the racetrack, and now that 72 car starting to fly.
Absolutely, 1.9 seconds between Stanaway and Narumi, and the last lap, the first 1:31 here of any driver. Only Enzo Bonito relatively close to that, but he's quite a bit down to Emil Spindel in 5th position. So Stanaway looking to regain the time he's lost with the struggle in the first couple of laps, and Yudan Narumi just trying to follow as good as he can, still being around the pace from Mogar Filo, so he doesn't need to fear a car from behind. But it just looks like as soon as Stanaway is in the zone, he's going to break free from the top, and by the looks of it right now, there's he's maybe putting it a bit safe, but the aim for Stanaway still seems to be the race victory today.
Yep, and as he said, lead it from the front. Of course, you take the most of your opportunities. Mogar DT Filo, we expected him to be strong here today. He's currently only sat in that 3rd position, 3.2 seconds behind Richie Stanaway, but he's starting to reel in just a tiny bit. Yudan Rumi, in fact, that last lap he actually lost himself a couple of tenths of a second, as Yudan Rumi did a 1:32.031 compared to Mogar DG Filo's 1:32.281. But this battle right now, Timo Evening and Timo Evening on Christian Laurent, and this is about the 14th and 15th positions on the racetrack. And Timo Evening is trying to close down Christian Laurent. Ahead of them, in fact behind them, you've got Jason Lovett, who's trying to close down Pierre Brittu and Ryan Terpstra on the racetrack. And this is a battle for 17th, 18th and 19th positions on the racetrack. And don't forget, Lovett qualified in the 14th spot, had himself a moment in the S's on lap number 1, and this is why he's now behind Pierre Brittu in the 60 car, and also Ryan Terpstra in the 56.
56. if you're tuning in right now, you are watching the last round of the season here, the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing, the last round of the season at Suzuka circuit here, the F1 cars driven by 25 of the drivers today. Your race leader so far, Richie Stanway with a 2.01 second gap to Yudain Rumi, Mogafilo in third, Emil Spindel in fourth, and Enzo Benito in fifth. And of course, taking a look towards the championship situation here. By now, no question, Richie Stanway is going to take this home. He has already got a 42-point lead here into the last race. And of course, if he's going to take the victory today, he's obviously going to take the title. Yudain Rumi in second, currently in sixth in the championship. Not really looking to make up any positions here. He's just too far behind. Philo in third, currently second in championship. Also definitely not getting Richie Stanway. Emil Spindel in fourth. Might get Davide Korps, because Davide Korps currently not in this race, so Spindel might look for another position here to just make sure he's going to get Davide Korps in the championship. And from then on, nothing is really looking different from the previous races we have. The top five, Stanway, Narumi, Fijo, Spindel and Bonito, are the guys dominating this season so far, and these are the guys taking the first 5 positions in the championship.
And we still actually have all cars on the lead lap, which is impressive as well. Ken Lease is 56 seconds behind the race leader, who's involved in something at the start of the race. However, is still circulating on the lead lap down in the 24th position. And interesting battles going on up and down the field at the moment. Looks like this is a battle from Jason Lovett, Pierre Victor and Ryan Terpstra. Ahead of them, you say, you've got Timo Raven and Christian Lorenzo battling for position, but then you've also got Max Delorco and PJ Sturgis battling it out. And I have to say, actually, Max Delorco is starting to reel in Simon Cartel in the 57 car, looking as though that is 0.2 of a second was the gap last time by. As they're working away back down into the Casino Triangle underneath the Advan Yokoyama Bridge, and now bumping all over those curves is Max Delorco. But as they come past the start finish line, we'll get confirmation and see what that gap is. And for Max Delorco, it is a 1 minute 32.858, a very slow lap for him. But Simon Cattell, a 1 minute 33.063. So still gaining time there is Max Delorco over Simon Cattell in what is now the battle for the 6th position on the racetrack. I think Cattell is in one of these zones right now where he still wants to get himself a decent top 10 finish, but if Delorco comes up behind him, I've got a feeling he might just allow him to go past.
Yeah, Delorco absolutely on the verge, giving 100% right here. He needs to get as much positions as he can, and by the speed these guys run for now, 3 seconds between Bonito and Cattell, and that is 5th to 6th position. It's going to be harder for Cattell to close the gap to the guy ahead, so 3 seconds is not exactly easy close. Yeah, Delorco in 7th behind these guys, another 0.7 of a second behind. So these guys basically lost the time to the front already, because taking a look at the lap times, Spindel in 4th and Bonito in 5th, 132, very low, and it's almost a second per lap the last time by, so it's a big difference here, and we're expecting the first couple of pit stops to happen in around lap 18 to 20, so it's a long time till then, and until then the mission should be just to keep it as close as you can to the top, and yeah, for now it's mission failed.
Mission failed, but I think there's still a lot of this race to go. We're working ourselves on lap 11, lap number 12 now, sorry, of 53 here. And this race can change dramatically over the course of this race. I mean, Enzo Benito, Emma Spindel, Mogo DiGiuffino, Yudain Rumi and Richie Stanway, they are drivers 5 through 1 in this race. And we have seen that drivers have dropped off the racetrack. In qualifying, we saw a lot of drivers, you know, have some very slippery moments in their qualifying laps. Of course, race pace, completely different ball game. Drivers are probably choosing a lot more stable setup, and also driving the car probably only about 95% of the majority of the race. However, we've talked about how places like the Den, coming out of the hairpin and the speed curve can be pivotal moments of this race, as Emil Spindel actually is now caught up right up the rear of Mogo DiGiuffino. This is battle for 3rd and 4th positions on the racetrack. I would say these are 2 drivers who have delivered so much in this series, but we've just been waiting for them to deliver a tiny bit more. Emil Spindel, of course, has won races here in the Pro Series. Mogo DiGiuffino hasn't won a race, but the consistency of these 2 drivers and the way that these 2 drivers have worked all season long has just been absolutely tremendous. I do think that they are going to be interesting competition in the World Championship Series. Probably both as the cars coming down pit road early for that, and that is Paul Ilbrink. And it looks as though Paul Ilbrink is going to be classified as out of the race, and something's just happened there to that 74 car, and it's just like he's pulled it off the racetrack.
Yeah, he's already got a bit of rear wing damage to the right side. It's definitely going to be very tricky to drive here, especially we've got the high speed turns here, and he's just trying to coast the car around the track here. He's last anyway, so just looking for any retirees here, giving him a couple of positions. So he definitely needs to get the car down pit road soon. He's already had a pit stop here 3 laps ago, apparently not fixing any of his damage, so it's going to be a tricky race for him. And 53 laps in this race, he's still got 40 ahead of him, and that's going to be a long 40 laps, I can tell you.
And I tell you what, it was actually a rather bizarre incident there with Paul Ilbrink. What happened was, he was trying to come on towards pit road, but he took the first pit entry, and the way this track works is there's a number of different pit complexes depending on what type of car they're running. Paul Ilbrink actually then deciding as if he wanted to go into the Suzuka West track, then comes back onto the racetrack itself, then back on towards pit road, and then all of a sudden decides, actually, I don't know the way up towards pit road, I'm not going in the right direction, I'm going to have to do myself another lap. So I'm going to expect to see Paul Ilbrink on pit road at this time by, he made a complete hash of getting onto pit road the first time around, and it does show that pit road can be a confusing place here at Suzuka. We do expect to say Paul Ilbrink come down towards pit road at this time by, as Richard Stanaway is putting himself onto lap number 14. Behind him, Jason Lovett is right up behind Pierre Britzer, looking down to the inside, they touch! Jason Lovett there, and Pierre and Britzer both going wide there at the spoon curve, and that was a very sloppy manoeuvre there by Lovett. As he came down into the corner, into the inside there, it just, I'm not quite sure whether one of them didn't turn, one of them turned into each other. Crazy moment there down the spoon curve.
Yeah, Lovett wasn't exactly side by side with Orbitzer there. He's just trying to put the nose in, and we've seen the comparable thing between Termiller, Geerling and Pedersen a couple of laps ago, and both of the guys bring it down pit road right now. So obvious damage for Lovett and Orbitzer, and yeah, you said it, sloppy maneuver. That's yeah, a very tricky situation there. You can maybe overtake there as soon as you're side by side, but he's just been too far away to really put a dive bomb in, and they both touch, so it is left rear damage for Pierre Orbitzer and front right damage for Jason Lovett. And you see that both of their cars have, of course, got visual damage, so it's an early pit stop for both of them. Maybe adjusting the strategy right now to a 3-stop, but yeah, not the rate exactly for Lovett. He started from 14th, now had this, and already had the off earlier, so definitely not the season-ending event for him right now. However, taking a look again at the top of the field, Stanaway in the zone, we're safe to say that, but yeah, not exactly far off is Yuda and Rumi, so he's also found his personal zone here. Set the fastest lap of the race here last time by 1 minute 31.7, as well as Stanaway, so yeah, not a big difference between these two guys. 2 seconds on the racetrack separated right now. Coming by this time, 1:32.1 for Narumi, 31.8 for Stanaway. So as soon as it's getting too close, it just seems like Stanaway is putting up these extra 2-3%, which are enough to get him 2:10 per lap, and enough to just get a little bit of a gap to the rear. Mogafilo already down 5.2 seconds, Emil Spindle 6.8, Enzo Bonito 8.4, and then comes the battle between Simon Gattel, PJ Sturgis and Del Orco, of which Simon Gattel has escaped a little bit, so he's 2 seconds ahead of Sturgis already.
Yeah, and Del Orco has lost that 7th position, so he's now down into the 8th spot. And of course, we talk about Del Orco, he is got to get himself into the top 5 if he wants a fighting shot of getting himself into the 2013 Grand Prix World Championship Series. And Del Orco, things not going well for him at this point in time. In fact, that car was looking very awkward as he worked his way through Denver 1 and 2. Having a look at him now in the hairpin, and it looks like he's actually having to take 2 flights to the steering wheel just to get that car to turn in. So I'm wondering if he's got any damage on that race car, because he's not handling on my screen at least as well as it's done previously. His last lap was a 1 minute 35.2, and compare that to 1 minute 1 minute 32.7. He lost a lot of time that last lap now, Jens.
Yeah, I've been taking a look at the replay, and if you remember that he did exactly what Mogafilo did in the qualifying. So coming out of Degner 2, he's just clipped the outside curb. You may run over it, but as soon as you run with the middle of the car, the ground plate's just going to hit the curb, rebound you off, and set you into a huge slide towards the left. And yeah, this being a quite narrow track in some parts. He's only had about a car width between the grass, the track and the wall, so he's went straight off the track on the grass, almost saving the car from the wall there, but he's just clipped the wall a little bit, receiving a bit of a front wing damage, losing 3 seconds that lap, and yeah, 32.3 for him now. Doesn't look like he's got much damage, but definitely the car will be driving different right now. It's going to be a long race for him as well. So behind him, Joni Terminal is 6 seconds down. He's got a bit of a cushion to the rear, but to the front, yeah, it's going to be a long way for Del Orco to make this work, because he needs to get the ticket, and by the looks of it right now, it's not going to work.
It isn't, but of course we've still got ourselves a huge amount of time in this race. We're going to probably carry on talking about that until like lap 40. A lot of racing left to go here. Max Lorco now down into the 8th position, and PJ Sturgis is pulling away from him that last lap, 3 tenths of a second. Simon Cattell is not going that quickly at the moment, and Max Lorco and Simon Cattell's pace are very similar. So another great race, however, by PJ Sturgis as he goes a little bit wide there, coming out of Spoon Curve, working their way down the back straightaway once again. But PJ Sturgis, I mean, we talked about this a couple of rounds back, how he is having a great race at Watkins Glen, having the same kind of standout performance here in that number 39 iNEX racing car. But ahead of him, let's say, he's got Simon Cattell, and he's 3 tenths of a lap faster than him that last time by. And as they come past the start of this line again, we're going to see what happens between those lot. But Enzo Benito in 5th, Simon Cattell in the 6th position, PJ Sturgis in 7th. All very closely separated, and Marius, you'd almost expect that to be the case.
Absolutely, 2 laps to go approximately to the first pit stops, maybe even 1 lap to go depending on your strategy. So we're going to take a look at when Stanaway, when Narumi, when Filo Spindle or Bonito is going to bring home the car here, and it is always a pre-deciding factor. You see how much these guys have fueled for the start, so you see how long they can go before the first pit stop, and of course, judging by the pit stop time, you're going to take a look at how long their middle stint is going to be, and with 2 seconds to the 2nd position, Stanaway is not exactly in the position of making the car any heavier, because as soon as he loses 1 second in the pits, and Yudan Rumi only gets a semi-good pit stop really, short fueling the car, he's already going to be way past, maybe even having a heavier car in the first stint right now. So Stanaway needs to go for the non-conservative thing, making the first stint relatively long and hopefully the middle stint relatively short there, trying to avoid any leapfrog action from Yudanarumi. Yudanarumi supposedly trying exactly the same. Of course, he tries to gain time on the pit stop, so he's trying to short fuel the car, making the middle stint as short as he can, just trying to gain a second or 2 on Stanaway. None of these guys bringing home the car this time by, not Spindle, not Bonito, so the top 5 still out, but by the looks of it, Enzo Bonito is very loose there, and he said that in the qualifying already. The iNEX Racing setup seems to be struggling with these slow turns a lot, and especially with the worn-out tires right now, 1-2 laps to go to the pit stop, that's going to be a very tricky thing for the drivers from iNEX Racing.
And I tell you what, Timo Evelyn just had himself a great pass down the inside into turn number 1. This is at the end of lap number 17, lap 16 into lap 17. And even just breeze down the inside there, getting himself past Christian Laurent. A bold manoeuvre on the Nexus Esports 68 car there of Christian Laurent, moving himself up into the 14th position on the racetrack. And of course, fans all over once again, don't forget you can keep in contact with us all race long. Use the hashtag IRRoadPro if you'd like to say hello to us. We'll reach the session down later on in this race. However, it is still Stanaway leading away from Yudan Rumi in the 2nd position, Mogar, DG Filo in 3rd, and Austin Nell in 4th, Enzo Bonito rounding out your top 5, then Simon Cattell 6th, PJ Sturgis 7th, Max Del Orco in 8th, Jordi Samara in 9th, and then Dave Geeling is rounding out your top 10. We have got ourselves so far 23 cars on the lead lap. Paul Ilbrink is just 1 lap down, and they're working themselves, as they say now, completing
Narumi down pit road.
And Narumi again early onto pit road, and we saw him do this last week at Spa, and it didn't work out for him. And Marius is so amazed by the fact that I actually remembered something, that he's just gone silent. So Narumi down onto pit road.
That was not on purpose.
You just sit there. I'm going to carry on. Narumi onto pit road. So 37 miles an hour here at Suzuka. Downhill pit lane as well, and a little bit bumpy. He's into his pit box there in the 76 Nexus Esports car. 4 fresh tyres, topping up with race gas, and he is going to be out and away there. A lot of wheel spin there on exit. He's going to come out just around. In fact, Vasily Zaitev's just going to get ahead of him, and having a look, Brian Turkstrom will come out behind, and Yudan Rumi is back onto the racetrack. And Timo Ivinen has pitted as well by the look of it. So some drivers pitting early, but it didn't work out as Hal Pinot comes onto pit road and slams just into the wall there. And I'm wondering how much damage that Hal Pinot will get from that in the 78 car. But he just slipped into the car barrier there, and I'm wondering if there's any damage to Hal Pinot's race car.
Yeah, very unlucky for him there. The pit road being relatively narrow, so especially coming out of the turn. You're basically pointing to the left, coming out of the chicane, trying to get the power down, and while trying to get the power down, you need to flick the car to the right, carrying as much speed as you can to the right, getting into the pits, and we're going to show you a replay of what exactly happened to Joao Pinot, because it's just so easy to happen, really. And yeah, these guys are relatively early in the pit zone. Of course, we're keeping an eye on the leader Stanaway as well as Filho and Spindle. When are they coming into the pits? But yeah, by the looks of it, Will, it's not going to be so easy for Narumi to yeah, keep this pace.
Yep, and we're having a look, and you see that just as he came onto pit road, it just looked as though he was trying to brake, and don't forget, you're turning downhill onto pit road as well. And for Hal Pinot, he just ended up slamming. It was a glancing hit, but enough perhaps to damage the suspension to his race car. We're going to see how bad it is there for Hal Pinot. He's back onto the racetrack. He's scored in the 22nd position. But while all that is going on, Richie Stanaway has made his pit stop away from our screens, and he's now back onto the racetrack in the 5th position. Mogar DG Filo is currently your race leader. A lot of oversteer there as he came out the hairpin. Filo has to push right now to try and gain some positions. And Mogar DG Filo, he's working himself now down into spoon curve once again, gap between himself and Emil Pindal. Less than 1 second on the racetrack. These two drivers haven't yet pitted. Richie Stanaway has. And we expect pit road to be a very busy place this time by Mogar DG Filo, working his way now down into the 130R. Is he going to pit this time by? Both Filo and Spindel have traditionally done some very long first stints, and let's see what this works out for Filo this time by. He's looking as though he might go down to the right hand side, and yes he does. Filo on towards pit road, and Emil Spindel, he's going to follow him as well, both down to 37 miles an hour. Both looking for their pit boxes as Simon Cattell onto pit road as well. Max Alorca, I think he was trying to come in there, but then couldn't get in. I'll have to come back to that one. But let's say Mogar DG Filo is onto pit road, as is Emil Spindel, as is Simon Cattell, and Yoni Tamala onto pit road as well. So as I predicted, a very busy place for these drivers. And as they come out, Mogar DG Filo looking as though he might just get out of Emil Spindel. He was down off the box first, he's first away, and Filo, let's see if he can actually get out ahead of Yudan Rumi. He's all the way down to turn 1 already, so Rumi gained a lot of time there.
Yeah, really, he has, because he's also lost 4 seconds compared to Stanaway here with this early pit stop. So still not really the ideal strategy to do for Narumi, so it seems like Narumi is once again going for an early pit stop, a longer middle stint, while Stanaway is going for the relatively normal, short first stint, but also very short middle stint. And he's got 4 seconds now between Stanaway and Narumi, so it's definitely more than before. He's doubled that gap. But also between Narumi and Filo, I wonder if the gap has gotten significantly better, but definitely between Spindle and Filo it's gotten closer, and also Enzo Bonito isn't really that far off anymore.
Yep, and having a look at these drivers at the moment as they're celebrating themselves on the racetrack here. Richie Stanaway is going to speed up at the end of this, back into the race lead. And Max Alorco, for the time being, he's trying to please the fans. This time he is indeed going to come down towards pit road in that 52 car. This is important for Max Alorco if he's going to have any shot of getting himself into the 2013 Grand Prix World Championship Series. 37 miles an hour for him, looking for his pit box. And let's see what Max Alorco can do as he comes down on towards pit road now. And he's going to stop onto his pit boxes. He's going to get himself 4 fresh tyres and top up with Sunoco race gas, just a little bit like everyone else. Max Alorco onto the track, 4 tyres in, fuel going in for him. Now he's out and away, and let's see where he's going to feed in. And Chris Lorenzo past. Simon Cattell goes past but Max Dell'Orco is see whether he can get ahead of anyone else. And I have to say that for Dell'Orco, it's not going too badly for him, but he's now back down into 7th position. And I'm trying to see whether or not he's out ahead of PJ Sturgis or not. Indeed,
yes, he is.
So he's back ahead of PJ Sturgis.
Yeah, and I wonder how he made that work. Apparently he's also finished the damage, so a good couple of laps before the pit stop, that's for sure. But it also looks like PJ Sturgis is going for the relatively long middle stint there. And yeah, Sturgis hasn't particularly been any slower than Kittel or Dell'Orco, so as soon as he can make it stick, he's going to have the upper hand at the last pit stop. Taking a look at the pit out lap here for Dell'Orco, 1 minute 58.6, while PJ Sturgis had a 2 minute 0.1, so 1.5 seconds difference. Simon Kittel had a comparable lap time to Dell'Orco, however. So Dell'Orco right at the tail of Simon Kittel, and PJ Sturgis just a little bit off, but we know as well this is going to change when the last pit stop is going to come, because then this is going to be exactly the opposite again. PJ Sturgis is going to stay out for longer, going to take less fuel, going to take less time in the pits, and Dell'Orco is going to do the opposite. So then we're going to see who's got the upper hand, and nothing is decided for now.
Nothing is decided, but if you're Max Dell'Orco, he's not doing the kind of crazy strategies we saw him do earlier on in the season, but it's conservative with a hint of just trying to outstretch himself, and I think he was trying to do it in such a way that he could react to anything going on around him. But do you think he can do that top 5 right now based on his current performance?
Yeah, I'm not right sure. Definitely he could get Simon Kittel there, but I think Enzo Benito is just a different league release. He's a couple of times quicker every lap, and as long as Dell'Orco is behind Simon Kittel and battling with him, he's not going to make up any time to the guys ahead, and for now it is 5 seconds, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be a little bit bigger and bigger every lap right now.
Don't forget, you can keep in contact with us on Twitter or RaceLong. Use the hashtag IRRoadPro. Shout out to Ricardo Castro Ledo, Go AV Racing, and Miguel Martin on the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Having a look through the field as well, it looks like things starting, as has been the case normally, to get spread out. And I have to say though, Max Dell'Orco is a lot closer to Simon Kittel than he was before this pit stop. And I mean, he's working himself back down to the spin curve once again. And I was saying that he was like 2-3 tenths per second faster than Simon Kittel before they came in to make their pit stop. And now Dell'Orco is only, what, 6 tenths per second back as they're working their way down in towards the 130R once again. And Dell'Orco right now could end up getting himself into the 6th position. And every position he gains is going to make it easier for himself to get that entry for 2013. And this is a battle for 6th and 7th positions on the racetrack. Perhaps the best battle we have for the time being, and perhaps one of the most significant as well when you piece it all together. To give you an update on the drivers who he's racing with, Wes Richards is currently in the 20th position. However, he's got teammate Andrea Boldi just ahead, so no doubt if needed, Boldi may just move aside and allow Wes Richards to go past. But that battle for 6th and 7th position, looking as though Dell'Orco is on fire right now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you stopped talking for a while, because Enzo Bonito has put the car off the track and spun in Degner 2, and he's made the worst decision compared to Dell'Orco. Dell'Orco's done exactly the same. He's put the car out of the turn, over the curb, but he didn't spin. He just basically recovered the car, clipping the wall, only losing 2 seconds. But Enzo Bonito lost 2 positions by that. Not only 2 seconds, but he has been 5 seconds ahead. Now he's 2 seconds down. Round that up, 7 seconds lost and 2 positions for Enzo Bonito. And that puts Simon Kittel into 5th and Enzo Bonito in 7th, of course, sandwiching Max Dell'Orco in 6th. And we're going to take a look at what happened there in the replay to Enzo Bonito. He just had basically the same thing going on as Dell'Orco is now coming through the S's here, approaching Degner 1. Everything's looking good so far into Degner 1. Pretty much everything's safe. You can't really expect that. Degner 2 now outside of the curb, and you're going to see that exactly. He's putting the car over the curb there, hitting the ground plate, hitting the curb. And yeah, as soon as that happens, it rebounds the car off. It basically clips off, and yeah, it's either a spin or just a very, very hairy moment. Dell'Orco meant to save it, and he did. Enzo Bonito meant to save it, and he didn't. So clipping the grass there, you see he spun the car, and lost him 7 seconds and 2 positions.
Last time by Mogar GT Filo, a 1 minute 31.613. So we're thinking perhaps a shorter middle stint right now for Mogar DG Filo, trying to leapfrog perhaps drivers like Yuda and Rumi, He's not going to get close enough to Richie Stanaway, we don't think, at this present moment in time. But we've seen, unless you do exactly the same thing as everyone else and perhaps go one lap longer, and you're right there with you, pitting early doesn't make a difference at all, Marius. In fact, normally, you're the driver who loses out the most if you come onto pit road first.
Yeah, it's usually the worst choice here, and yeah, take a look at Philo and Stanaway. So it really seems that the middle stint is shorter for Philo because as well Stanaway is running a similar pace there. So by the looks of it, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Stanaway is on a short middle stint here, just trying to secure his first position. And Philo was still the guy with the longest pit stop, so when he came out, it didn't really look that safe. He had Emil Spindle right at his tail, and yeah, now 2 seconds down is Spindle already, 2.5 seconds down, and Philo is absolutely on the fly.
Yep, and Philo, so he's done some alternative strategies, and it's never really gone well for him. The biggest one that comes into my mind was at Phillip Island, where he had the chance to win the race and lost it simply because of the pit strategy that he chose. But meanwhile, this battle continues between Max Alorco and Simon Kinsella for what is now the battle for 5th position on the racetrack. Dell'Orco, if he can just get past him on the racetrack or on pit road, who knows? And while this is all going on around them, we've got Jordi Tamala and Jesper Pedersen. They are battling for 9th and 10th positions on the racetrack at the moment. And then you've got, in fact, Jesper Pedersen looking around the outside as they come down into turn of 1. Still going to go 2-1. And tell you what, Pedersen get a good run out of here. He doesn't. But Pedersen, they're almost making it work on the outside of the MyFRD driver of Jordi Tamala. And that would have been a brave manoeuvre there, Marius. With Jesper Pedersen in this battle for 9th position.
Yeah, great move by Pedersen, trying it around the outside. We've seen that can work, especially if the car on the inside is getting squarely out of the turn, losing the traction there. But it also looks like Jesper Pedersen's got the better car now in the middle stint, pushing Joni Terminal as much as he can. This is the battle for the 9th position, of course. And also Dave Gehlig isn't really far off that. Of course, getting closer and closer as soon as these guys fight. As they touch a little bit, I think, and maybe a little bit there in the hairpin. Jesper Pedersen just clipped the rear of Joni Termele, putting him sideways out of the turn. Now Termele, of course, closing the line for Pedersen, not allowing him to go anywhere. And the rear wing for Termele is definitely bent, so there was a little bit of an incident there. And let's take a look at how is this going to influence the straight line speed for the two guys here approaching the 130R and the Casino Triangle, as Pedersen is just a little bit faster there on the straight. He might even make the move into the butt stop right now. Yes, he's going for the left side, and Termele has in fact acknowledged that his car is just not fast enough in the straight line. That's as much as it could take here, as Termele might get the chance for a counter there. Then Jesper Pedersen almost puts the car into the pit wall there, as Termele is trying the same than Pedersen the last time. But even with the slipstream, the damage is just going to cost him much. And yeah, with that damage, Joni Termele is definitely not getting him back. And Dave Gehlig is already knocking at the door. He's basically closed up all the way already. And with that much straight line speed, he's going to have him in no time.
And you talk about knocking on the door. In fact, Dave Gehlig is actually running over him there almost, as they work their way through turn number 1 and 2 once again. So that would have tweaked the rear end a little bit more there. It's all going wrong for that Mayo BYD driver in the middle part of this race. Then Marius, while it's still going on, Dave Gehlig is going to want to get past. But look at the gap that Pedersen has grown in the space of half a lap. As they're working their way down out of the hairpin once again, it's Pedersen in the 9th position, Jordi Tamala in 10th, and Dave Gehlig in 11th position. And Tamala looking as though he really is struggling at the moment, so working away back into the spoon curve, as Tamala is working himself now out the spoon curve. You just look at how much he's having to hassle that car. One of the positions on the racetrack where you want to put the power on as quickly as possible, but you can't do it because of the simple fact that normally that car wants to slip away from you just a tiny bit. But Tamala has lost himself already a full second and a bit over Pedersen. So now they're working their way down into the hairpin. Gehlig all over the rear of him once again. Coming out, let's see what Gehlig is going to try and make a pass. I'm going to turn number 1 and 2 once again. But Marius, for Tamala, it's not looking good for him right now.
Yeah, definitely not. The car seems to lack a bit of the straight line speed, so it's going to have a lot of trouble there. The two big overtaking spots, definitely turn 1, definitely into 130R and into the Carino triangle. And you see that how much Dave Geeling is closing in into the turn here. In the apex, he's basically almost rammed the rear of Joni Tärmela. He's just as close as he can, being held up right now, and you see how much Jesper Pedersen broke free from them. 1.3 seconds in 1 lap already. So definitely the look that Joni Tärmela's got damage right now. Behind them, Marcus Ketten 4 seconds down, Teemu Ivonen 4.5 seconds down. So they are not really that far away. And if this continues and Dave Geeling can't get past that soon, it's just going to go on, and Ketten and Ivonen will have closed in no time.
Yep, and this is going to be then the battle for 10th, 11th, 12th, and perhaps 13th position on the racetrack. And Geeling, if he can't get past, he's going to have a very tough time of getting himself into the top 10 here at Suzuka. We're approaching halfway distance, in fact, by my watch, we're over halfway distance now here in the final round of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Will Vincent, that's me, Marius Gonenbeck, that's him, in the GlacierTV booth once again. Richard Stanaway now a 7.7 gap over Yudan Rumi in the battle for first position. Mogo DP a further 1.3 seconds back, but we believe that Velo is light on fuel as he's taking himself some blistering lap times at the moment. And Joni Tärmela, so he's run that race car, so and that was down at the Casino Triangle, and it just looks as though he was side by side.
Yeah, that was definite contact. Yep.
Yeah, down at the and that was rather unnecessary there by Dave Geeling. I mean, he does put the car down to the inside, but it was Tärmela. Just I don't know if he's turning in or not, but it's a very late pass there by Dave Geeling.
Take a look at what has happened in the replay there. By the looks of it, Geeling just put his nose in down the inside, trying to overtake there. As all went wrong there. The two cars coming out of Spoon right now, and you see just how big the straight line difference is. 130R right now. Geeling is putting the car on the right side, trying to outbrake Tärmela. As everything goes wrong, he's hitting Tärmela in the side, spinning him off. And by the looks of it, also Geeling has got some front wing damage there. And what did I say a couple of laps ago? Ketten right behind Geeling right now, and Ivonen as well. And with this much damage, Geeling surely will not hold on to that 10th position, and Tärmela is all the way down to 14.
Yeah, and Joni Tärmela is battling at the moment to keep that 77 car in the race. Same thing applies to Dave Geeling in the 41 car, and it's all gone wrong for them in this battle for the 10th position. Just 1 lap to go. Pedersen, meanwhile, he's now up into the 9th position. And this battle continues, however, with Max Delorco and Simon Cattell, as meanwhile behind them, we've got Marcus Caton on the racetrack. He's being passed there by Teemu Ivonen, just going down the inside there of Dave Geeling, while still battling with Marcus Caton in the battle for the 11th.
Yeah, so it proves that definitely Dave Geeling has enough damage. He's put the car down pit road right now, getting some repairs for his F1 car. As Caton and Ivonen both passed him there, so no change for their positions, but they all went past him right there. Joni Tärmela also down pit road, making his 2nd pit stop of the day, and that's going to be a very difficult race from now on, because he's got half of the race, a bit less than half of the race to go, and yeah, still got a damaged car, still needs to do 1 more pit stop probably. We're back with position 3 on the racetrack, as sorry, position 2 that is in fact. Del Orco, Cattell and Narumi, and Narumi apparently had a mistake there this lap by, and Del Orco's passed Simon Cattell.
Yeah, and it's all happening here, and Yudan Rumi now up into, down into the 3rd position. Mogo DT Velo up into 2nd. But Max Delorco, that is the important thing. He's been able to get himself up a position here, and in fact, having a look, he's not that far behind Yudan Rumi now, who's into the 4th position. So Max Delorco, things are all going well for him right now, as he's going to get himself a huge draft down this front straightaway. Wondering what happened there to Yudan Rumi. We believe it is found in the Spoon curve, but that is meant that Mogo DT Velo up into 2nd position. However, the gap between himself and Richie Stanaway is now 11.5 seconds on the racetrack.
Yeah, Stanaway not involved in any of these hairy situations, but we've seen how quick it can go. We've seen Del Orco off, we've seen Narumi off, we've seen Bonito off, we've seen Tärmela and Dave Geeling with damage right now. So, excluding that, all of the top drivers here, Del Orco, Bonito and Narumi had a big issue there already, and that puts Del Orco right now into the 5th position there, So it could be enough right now for the WCS next year, but this is far from over, as Narumi is ahead of him right now, but yeah, he needs to get back in the zone after this mistake, and behind him Enzo Bonito, of course, in 7th position, tries to regain the position. He came from 5th, and he lost these positions with the little mistake, and also PJ Sturgis is caught up by now, and yeah, the second pit stop is still long to come, but that's still going to change a lot there, and I'm far from saying it's over.
Yep, and having a look at Enzo Bonito on your screens momentarily in the 73 car. Currently sat in the 7th position. You can see he's got Simon Cattell just ahead of him in that 57 machine, and then PJ Sturgis in 8th, about 1 second back. And this kind of front pack is really close up together all of a sudden. Simon Cattell is running himself, say, in the 6th position. Max DeLorca in 5th. Yudan Rumi in 4th, and Yudan Rumi, ever since that moment, it just looks as though that he's struggling a little bit on the racetrack for this moment in time, and he's not really able to pull out much of a gap over Max DeLorca in this battle for 4th and 5th positions on the racetrack. And Marius, for DeLorca, right now he's into that 5th position. He has a chance of 4th, but it's going to have to work for him on pit stops once again. We're not too far away from our second line of pit stops.
Yeah, and currently taking a look at when it's going to be enough for Del Orco to make it into the WCS there. But all he needs to do basically now is just get back into his race, try and get a good next stop. And Narumi, remember, he's been early in, so he's going to take a longer second pit stop to really make the fuel last for the last one. And Del Orco has been one of the guys longest out here, so he might have the best situation here for the last pit stop. But also Simon Cattell and Bonito have got a good situation. They are far from out of this battle.
As we check it in on your race leader, Richie Stanaway, 12.1 seconds is the gap now between himself and Mogar DG Philo, with a further 6 tenths per second back to ML Spindell. We're going to try and get ourselves what happened to Yudan Rumi, because he had himself, we're just having a look back, and it was, by our watch, on lap number 30, he had that incident down towards the spoon curve, and it was actually coming out of the hairpin, right, having a look at it again, sorry, Denger's Denger number 2, coming out of the Denger. He put himself, the same thing as we've seen cars do, the underside of that car was on the curb, and then that car just snapped from him, and somehow was able to keep it out of the wall, but very close incident there for Yudan Rumi. We're going to get a replay up on your screen momentarily, and it's always those moments, you get that car just a little bit too far over the curb. Places like Zolder are exactly the same with this, and for Narumi, you can't really do anything other than wait for the car to snap on you. It indeed did. He was able to slow it down quickly enough, but lost himself a ton of positions, had to spin that car back around. And for Yudan Narumi, so way down the field to him now, and a bit of a bent wing in the process. And Marius, that's what happened to Yudan Narumi, and it just shows this is a very tough racetrack.
Yeah, and Simon Cattell meanwhile getting past Miguel Martin together with Enzo Benito Martin being 1 lap down already. The only retiree so far is Paul Ilbrinkworth. We've seen a couple of these guys suffer already. Yoni Termele together with Dave Geerling in heavy trouble early on, and Miguel Martin as well with the bent rear wing together with a little mistake from Timo Ivan receiving that rear wing bend. Paul Ilbrink from early in the race already retired now. Seeing that it's just not going to work with so much damage on his car. But apart from that, we've seen a couple of drivers with mistakes here, but only one guy out by half of the race is still a good rate.
Yeah, and that's the important thing as well. And we talked about how these drivers just wanted to get to the end of the race. Unfortunately for some drivers, even though they're still in the race, they're not in the position expected or wanted it to be, and Yudan Rumi is one of those drivers. Of course, he came into this race knowing that a top 5 position was pretty much out of the question. Pretty much confirmed for him now, and he's still running in the 4th position, however, and his battle continues with Max DeLorco. So we're working ourselves on lap number 34 of 53, so 20 laps left to go in the final round of the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing, as we're having a look on board with Max DeLorco. And DeLorco, he's really done himself a stunning job here today, and we've talked all race long about how he's kind of had the card stacked against him. Now he's into that 5th position. He's not relented, he's not cruised down or anything, and he's still pushing Yudan Rumi in that battle for 4th position because he wants to make it, because he's wide out of turn of Denger number 2 there. He wants to make it as secure for him as possible. Yes, Marius, I'm talking to you again.
Yes, I know. I have nothing to add to that. It's just, yeah, I can just once again say it's far from over. and yeah, still a lot of laps to go here. 18, 19 laps this time by. So yeah, it's really. I mean, we basically had Julian Rumi chasing Richie Stanaway. Then the pit stop came. Rumi been down 4 seconds. Basically still safe from the guys behind him. Filho and Spindle chasing them, almost 5 seconds between them. One mistake, and Rumi is finding himself 8 seconds down into pace 4. Yeah, so Filho and Spindle, yeah, basically just trying to keep it without mistakes. They're chasing Stanaway right now, but yeah, apart from the top 3, all the guys behind there had at least little mistakes there, costing Rumi 2 positions, costing Del Orco a couple of positions, and yeah, it's really just shows. I mean, we said it before the race, this is going to be a hard race, it's going to be a long race, and once again, it seems like now fatigue might be kicking in a little bit. If you've done your pit stop, everything is maybe going too good, you just tend to lose your concentration.
Checking in with Enzo Benito once again in the 73 car, right in the middle of the battle with Simon Cattell and PJ Sturgis, and this is about for 6th, 7th and 8th position on the racetrack as we're working away on lap number 35. And having a look further down the field as well, it looks like people are getting a lot more spread out as Christian Ren and Timo Raven, and they're still battling for 11th and 12th positions on the racetrack, and you've got Terpstra and Zeta battling for 13th and 14th positions. But apart from that, everyone kind of now just in their zone, running around, doing what they need to do as we're working, as I'll say, on lap number 35. And Stanaway is still your race leader. That gap now almost unassailable. The mud guy DG Philo 12.3 seconds back on the racetrack here. And for Stanaway, I mean, we talked about how he's going to have to lead this race from the front to be the safest option. With the 12.3 second gap now, he can just start a little bit turning that wick down. He doesn't have to push every single corner like you know, it's the last lap of qualifying or something else, but still Stanaway charging along. His last lap, a 1 minute 31.849. He's about to put a lap on Howard Pino to put him 1 lap down in this race. And having a look at Stanaway's lap times, in fact, he's getting faster rather than slowing down. And it's that whole kind of Ayrton Senna 1988 at Monaco when, you know, he stopped racing at 100% or all of a sudden he crashed. I think Stanaway, he just wants to carry on doing what he's done all season long.
Yeah, and you said it, the 100% thing is, it's weird because for Stanaway, it seems that when he's running at 95%, he starts to make mistakes, and then he goes up, he starts to get faster and faster, and regardless of where he is in the stint, it's always benefiting him. He still gets faster at the end of the stint, he still sort of progresses throughout the laps, but yeah, with these little mistakes, you kind of lose your zone, and so far Stanaway has not done any of these mistakes, as Jasper Pedersen has done his second pit stop of the day, and that should ring the bell there for the second pit stop zone being opened, as we've expected it to be around lap 37, 38, and Stanaway as well brings it down this time by. He's got nothing to fear. So even if he's running a bit close on the fuel calculation, he might just bring the car in 1 lap early to make sure he's going to run this 12 seconds ahead of Mogafilo. Second position comes down pit road as well, as Image Spindle stays out and only 1.9 seconds down to Mogafilo, and 1 lap we've seen it could be enough to make this leapfrog. So this is an intense thing to stick to, because by the looks of it, Spindle has a free track ahead of him now. He's basically 100% full on now. Simon Cattell, Enzo Bonito, Del Orco and Nerumi, all the guys chasing the third positioned Spindle and Philo not in the pits so far, and Richie Stanaway out of the pits, pretty much out of traffic, and as well Mogafilo currently started rolling, and we see where he comes out, and by the looks of it, Philo gets a clean exit as well, ahead of Marcus Ketten, that is, yes. So yeah, it's gonna be Spindle really needing to push this up as far as he can. We're almost crossing the 1 hour mark, and we've got 15 laps, 16 laps to go here. So it's still gonna be a long time for both of them. And for the last stint, one thing to say at least, Richie Stanaway so far has done everything correct, and he just needs to reel this in now, bring it home, and 12 seconds should be enough for the driver from Team Redline there to secure not only the race victory, but also the championship title.
Indeed, yeah, and Richie Stanaway, he is now within 20 laps of being the 2012 iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing champion. Emma Spindell working his way on the racetrack, currently sat in the first position, yet to make his second and final pit stop of the day. He was very squirrely as he came out of the sprint curve that last time by. Let's see whether he makes that journey down towards this time by. Looking to go to, he stays out, so for another lap there. for Emma Spindell in the 33 car as he works their way back down past the start finish line. Now working ourselves on lap number 38 of 53 here at Suzuka International Racing Course, back down into turn number 1 with Emma Spindell. We'll try and go on board with him as he comes now through the S's first, that left-hand flick, then to the right once again. You see just how much on it is Emma Spindell now as he's working his way out and onto the Dunlop curve.
Meanwhile, in top 5 battle, Max Del Orco and Udine Rumi both brought the car down pit road. Only about a car difference there, being 60 kilometers an hour slow in the pit limit. Both run into the pit stall really good, so not going to lose any time right there. And we're just going to see how much they're going to refuel. Obviously, they're going to refuel a similar amount, and Udine Rumi just gets out a little bit ahead of Max Del Orco again. He might even gained about half a second there. Both of them get out ahead of Miguel Martin, who's a lap down. But the important thing is Enzo Bonito, Simon Cattell and Peter Sturgis stood out, haven't done their pit stop yet. So it's going to be a question of, are they going to bring the car in this lap by or the next lap by? Obviously they will be running out of fuel soon, but for Del Orco and Narumi, this could be a little bit of an issue there, because they haven't been so far down. And if Bonito, Sturgis and Cattell nail their pit stop right now, this could be a very interesting last stint as well. We may remember, this is going to be the last stint, and in the last stint, of course, the tires play an important factor, because you're obviously not going to pit as Emil Spindel brings the car down pit road, and Filho is 29 seconds down. It's going to be close. It's going to be very close. We've got Cattell and Bonito together with Del Orco and Narumi, and Spindel versus Filho. So nothing is decided really.
As Mogadici Filo working his way back down out of the Casino Triangle once again. And let's see where Filo's going to come out in relation to Emma Spindell. Spindell, with a lot of wheel spin there as he comes back onto the racetrack now. He can floor it from here on in, but Filo does indeed go past as he works his way back down into turn number 1. We've got word as well that Simon Cattell looks like he is out of the race, Mario.
No, he's not out of the race. He stood out.
Of the pit road.
Misinterpretation there.
Ouch.
Of course, Simon Cattell being one of the latest guys here to pit, but he's already been relatively late in the first pit stop. So Cattell, of course, being in the role there of gaining a position from Benito, maybe gaining a position from the guys ahead, but he might be the first to profit from that. Shortest pit stop, shortest fuel load, and of course shortest last stint.
Yep, and these drivers, you know, it is the last stint of the season for him. So for all of these drivers, it is now, let's see what we can do from here. And we'll get confirmation of what happens as these drivers come past the start-finish line once again. That battle between Emil Spindell and Mogadici Filo. DT Filo actually was able to get out about 5 seconds ahead of Emil Spindell there. So he tried it as hard as possible, but wasn't able quite to get out ahead of him. As all these drivers say, they're working away still on the racetrack as Simon Cattell now comes down onto pit road to make his final stop of the day. 37 miles an hour is what he's doing on pit road. Ahead of him, we've got one other car on pit road as well, and that is Hal Pinner, which is standing away, comes past the start-finish line, put himself back as the official race leader, working his way down into turn number 1 and 2. Once again, Simon Cattell into his pit box. Let's see what he can do now. In that 57 car, he's going to get himself 4 fresh tyres for the final time this season, and he's going to top up with race gas as well. We're keeping an eye to see where he feeds in with all of these other drivers. Keeping an eye on Max Del Orco. In fact, Del Orco looking like he's going to come up behind Udine Narumi, looking like he's going to come out behind as well. It's going to be very close between Narumi and Cattell, so we're going to the apex of turn number 1 and 2. But Simon Cattell moves up ahead of Udine Narumi and into what I believe is 4th position.
Yeah, and that's a brilliant strategic move for him there. He came from 7th and 8th fighting with Enzo Bonito, and he's basically overtaken the fighting pack between Narumi and Del Orco. So he did a great move, overtaking Narumi, of course, there, and not only being slightly ahead, but also yeah, a couple of tenths at least. So Narumi not right at his tail, a couple of moments of time for Cattell to get back in his rhythm. But for this pack, 4-way fight for the 4th position. It is Cattell, Narumi, Del Orco and Bonito. And we may not forget Max Del Orco is fighting for his entry in the WCS 2013 here. So he needs to at least get 7th position. So far he has got that, Enzo Bonito occupying this position. And 3 seconds down is Peter Sturgis in 8th.
Yep, and these drivers now on their final stint of the season. And this battle continues between Yuda Narumi, Simon Kittel and Max Delorco. Kittel is in the 4th position, Narumi in 5th, right up towards the rear of them. And I tell you what, Max Delorco is a little bit too far back to make full use of this draft. He's 1.2 seconds back last time past the start finish line. Let's see what it's going to be as they cross the start finish line once again. But looking as though that Narumi and Kittel working a little bit together on the race track, we can pull out a bit of a gap over Max Delorco. As they come past the start finish line once again, it's Simon Kittel with a 1:39.114. Yuda Narumi is actually looking down to the inside. I know it's a banzai move to do that, but Narumi thinks better of it at the last moment there. And Delorco, that gap is now 1.1 seconds. So Delorco just staying within the section of these two drivers and Marius with 2 long straightaways here. That is going to be important.
Yeah, not only that, but also behind Enzo Bonito, I can't imagine that he's going to pay much attention towards the championship situation of Delorco. Enzo Bonito just looking to get a good season finish here, and so far being in 7th position, he still could go all the way up into 4th, as well as between Narumi and Kittel. They've both got the ticket into the WCS, as well as Enzo Bonito. They are just looking for a good race finish here, a good season finish, maybe getting up one or another position there, but yeah, Delorco is pretty much in a very difficult situation because all the cars around him don't care for his situation. He needs to fight cars who all got the ticket, and yeah, they won't really care if Delorco needs another position or not. They are still fighting for him in the race.
And of course, for Andrea Boldi, pretty much now guaranteed into the World Championship Series. If he needs to, he could slow down and allow Wes Richards to pass to a teammate. No rules against that in the series. Qualifying himself. However, there is a curveball, and that is in the form of Pierre Ebritsu in the 60 car, currently running in the 19th position and only less than a second behind Wes Richards. He's pounding him down. Last couple of laps, Ebritsu has been faster than Wes Richards rather substantially, and if Ebritsu can get past, that is going to help Max Delorco, who's currently sat in that 6th position. This is the battle, guys, the last of the drivers who are going to get through to the 2013 Grand Prix World Championship Series. Right now, by our watch, it is Wes Richards who holds that position. He and Max Delorco needs, at this moment in time, Pierre Ebritsu to get past him, and then perhaps Delorco might just get that final spot. And this is fascinating into the season here.
Take a look at the championship standings. At top of the championship, with a blistering performance so far. The last 2 rounds won, a 2nd position before that, and then another 2 rounds won for Richie Stanaway. He's been struggling at the start of the season, but so far he's really got back into it. He is leading this race, and he will also take the crown of the Pro Series if he doesn't screw this one up right now. 10 laps to go for Stanaway at the front of the field. 1 hour and 5 minutes done here. So he is first in the championship. Mogafilo in 2nd, Emil Spindle in 3rd. There's going to be no change in that. However, Spindle with the 3rd position might even attack Davide Korps in the championship there. The Korps not in the race today. Simon Kittel in 4th, going to take a big amount of points. And Yuda Narumi behind him in 5th is only 3 points ahead of him. So with this result, Simon Kittel might even leapfrog Yuda Narumi and put himself into 6th position. Enzo Bonito in 5th in the championship, 7th in the race. Not gonna do anything for him, but for that, Kittel is maybe the main person in this fight here for the 1st position, because he needs to cling on to that. He may not be overtaken by Yuda Narumi, because this could be very well ending the 6th position in the championship.
Yep, and Richie Stanaway still leading the way. He's got himself an 11.4 second gap over Mogai DG in the battle for the 1st position. Now at last pit stops out of the way, Stanaway can start breathing a sigh of relief as he's now got that race lead. All the pit stops are done, so the only thing he has to worry about now is his car on the racetrack and potential lap traffic. Mogai DG 11.4 seconds back. He's got himself a 1.5 second gap back to everyone down in the 3rd position. Simon Kittel in 4th is a full 15 seconds outside this battle. Yuda Narumi in 5th, Max Delorco in 6th, and then Enzo Bonito is in the 7th position on the racetrack again. And Enzo Bonito looking as though he's been struggling a bit as he's been passed by PJ Sturgis. Sturgis back up into the 8th position. It looks like Bonito had a moment there in that last lap as he goes wide once again. Bonito, something must be wrong with his car because he's been very slip-slided these previous couple of laps.
Yeah, PJ Sturgis now past him. It just looks like he's lost his zone. He's out of it. and it wasn't so bad for him chasing Delorca and Narumi. And now that he's just a couple of tenths off, it's going to be harder and harder for him to keep his contention and just to keep the focus up to follow these guys, because he knows as well he might have gotten the 4th position, but he's so far down right now he can barely even see Simon Gattel, who's currently in 4th, and it's going to be a long way up for him as we've got 9 laps to go for the drivers here. Richie Stanaway still in the lead, but still Simon Gattel in 4th, doing a good job so far since his pit stops, 2 seconds ahead of Yudai Narumi. May not forget that Narumi has brought his car into the pits relatively early in lap 37 already, Gattel only in 39, so 2 laps difference there. Narumi is on the heavier car for the first 2 laps. He's got the worst tires right now, and he might even need to fear Max Delorco and PJ Sturgis, who are closing into him behind him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This racetrack, it's going to always produce spectacular finishes, and I have to say that these drivers have still got a lot to fight for. And I don't know. It's like PJ Sturgis, we've seen him on some great standout performances in this series. Could he go and create heartbreak for Max Delorco in the last 10 laps of the race and the entire season? Who knows? I mean, the gap between these 2 drivers is only about 1.5 seconds on the racetrack. Max Delorco catching Yudai Narumi once together, kept between those 2 drivers with 1 second as they crossed the start-finish line last time by. And say Yudai Narumi, looking as though he's struggled ever since he's got that car and had that spin down at Denga number 2 earlier on in this race. I'm having a look, and it looks like he's got a replacement front wing, so that shouldn't be an issue per se. But it looks like he's had to push that car a lot harder than he was doing earlier on. Some sloppy mistakes coming out from the 76 car there of Yudai Narumi, who we believe might be in his last race for Nexus Esports moving next season. But still, Stanaway leading, Philo second, Spindale third, Gattel fourth. Yudai Narumi rounding out your top 5 next. Delorca in 6th position, PJ Sturgis 7th, Enzo Benito 8th, Tesla Pedersen 9th, Marcus Cachon rounding out your top 10. We've still got ourselves 19 cars on the lead lap. Then Marius, these drivers are struggling right now. You can see it by these cars are exiting some of these corners. Places like Dengham and the hairpin, the spoon curve. These drivers are starting to get tired now.
Yeah, it's been that way in a couple of rounds already. So the last 10 laps really need to get an extra portion of your focus there. Fatigue settling in, you're just basically getting tired. It's of course not as exhausting as in a real race car, but still you need to be so far on the limit. You may not afford any mistake here, and yeah, even with 1 lap to go, this thing could still change, because with 1.5, 1.5 and 1 second between these guys, 1 little mistake is enough. We've seen Yudai Narumi making that mistake, we've seen Delorco making that mistake, we've seen Bonito making a mistake, and that's been managed early on, so they've all got back into their race, but it could just very well happen again.
Yeah, and what we're going to do is going to show you a replay there of Enzo Bonito and what happened to him to put him back down into the 8th position. Replay coming up on your screen, hopefully about now. And this is Enzo Bonito, he was running at the time in some position. His car was starting to get a little bit squirrely underneath him. PJ Sturgis was only about a 2.5 seconds back. He was trying to close down Max Delorco in the battle for the 6th position, working his way down the front straightaway. And then you just see that he just goes wide there, and he catches the curve as he comes down into turn number 1, and he just catches the curve, and that car just didn't want to turn on him. He gets it out onto the off track, and by that point, PJ Sturgis has gone past. He loses the position, and even though Marius, they've changed that in recent years, made it a tarmac runoff area as compared to the gravel track that became oh so famous in 1990. Bonito still lost himself quite a bit of time there. As you see now, he's looking down into turn number 1 about now, and Enzo Bonito, he just goes wide, Marius, and it just looks like he got himself onto that curve and it just wouldn't turn.
Yeah, it really is hard to say, but it could be due to fatigue. It's hard to say really. I mean, the race is close to an end. You basically know where you are now, and if you're in a position like Enzo Bonito, for example, being down, had a better position this race, you've almost been in the reach for the top 3, and now you're all the way down in 8th position. Maybe this is not exactly how you want to end your series.
Yep, and for Enzo Bonito, he's had a very up and down season as well. He's been thereabouts for quite a number of races in here, and of course, we will see him in 2013, but still for Stanaway, that gap 11.7 seconds was, you know, he's just counting down the laps now. He's halfway through lap number 47 of 53, the final race of the season for Richie Stanaway, and he's just about 5.5 laps away from being crowned the 2012 champion. And I know a number of people are showing their appreciation to Richie Stanaway. You can do the same. Use the hashtag IRRoadPro. if you'd like to keep in contact, of course, you can get in contact with us on facebook.com/GlacierTV or on the live stream page as well. Mogar DT Philo still 11.7 seconds back in. For Mogar DT Philo, I do feel disappointed for him because he's had many a shot to get to win a circle this year. He just seems to have been unlucky more than anything else.
Yeah, he had the shot at winning a race here. He's been struggling in some of the races, but he's also been beaten legitimately by Richie Stano on a couple of occasions, but he's just got so much second positions. If he's gonna add this one to his list, he's got a second position in the third race, the 5th, the 6th, the 8th, and the 10th right now. So half of the series is second position for him, and he's also had a 3rd and 2 4th places. So taking a look at the consistency, Philo has only had one result worse than 4th position here, and that over 10 races. And if that isn't enough to credit him, at least for the second position in the championship, it's definitely just a great job. We have got the gap between the first and the second points in the championship. So the first obviously gets 50 and the second gets 40. So that's how Richie Stanaway could make up such a big gap. But still, this is a magnificent performance by Philo, as well as from Spindle, because Spindle has also got a major set of 3rd and 2nd positions on his list.
And Pierre Britton and Liz Richards, they are still battling for 18th and 19th positions on the racetrack. That could hold some important towards the end of this race as well. Pierre Britton's last lap of 1 minute 32.764. Compare that to Liz Richards, 1 minute 33.288. They've got themselves Andrea Boldi ahead, and Andrea Boldi could come into the picture here, trying to help out as Richie Stanaway just breezes past, and this actually costs a lot of time there to Pierre Britton. Stanaway gets past, and now Liz Richards is going to be able to getting lapped in a moment's time or so. But I have to say that Pierre Britton lost an absolute ton of time there. Mogar DT Philo actually that last time by a 1 minute 31.547, his second fastest lap of the day there for Mogar DT Philo, and he's not giving up at all. And I think he's just trying to rack up those laps now, and I'd say force Stanaway into a mistake, but 11.3 seconds ahead. I don't think Stanaway is going to react at all to that.
Yeah, I can't imagine he does, because I mean, 11 seconds should be definitely enough for him to just go home and take this race victory.
So less than 10 laps left to go in the final race of the season, the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing here on Glacier TV. Don't forget, later on today, the first World Tour event of the year, the Roar Before the 2.4 starts time for that 6 PM on Channel 1. And then the 2 World Cup races, they are going to go on. First, the road race at 8 PM GMT, and then the oval race at 10 PM GMT. Full coverage of that, of course, will be on Glacier TV. Richie Stanaway working himself on lap number 49 of 53 here. And he's got himself, he's just counting down the laps now. 4.5 laps left to go for him. He's looking as though he's going to try and get himself past Liz Richard in the next half a lap or so. And you see that now Liz Richards is going to move to the left-hand side. In fact, he's going to get a lot of time gained there between himself and Pierre Britton, because the Britton is a lot slower. And now with Britton, he's got himself just a couple of laps to try and close that gap down to Liz Richards in what is the battle for the 18th position. Yes, but perhaps the battle for who's going to be the last driver to get into the 2013 Grand Prix World Championship Series. Of course, we will not go off there until we confirm your full lineup for the 2013 World Championship Series. Stanaway still leading the way. Udo Narumi going very sideways once again as he's struggling, Marius, to stay ahead of Max Delorca. That gap about 1.2 seconds on the racetrack, but Udo Narumi is having to push on every single apex right now.
Yeah, and it's just amazing how things turn here. I mean, out of the pits, Narumi has been right behind Simon Cattell, and we all thought, all right, it's going to be a matter of a couple of laps that Narumi is going to get straight past again. And now it looks like Simon Cattell's broken free, 2 and 2.9 seconds last lap by him. And Narumi's finding himself in a whole other position because Delorca behind him is just pushing. And instead of fighting to the front, Narumi has to defend to the back now.
Yep, and Max Delorca in the 52 car. He's got himself just 4 laps to see what he can do. And then, of course, he will just be sat down. He'll be waiting for his pit crew to tell him whether or not he's going to make the field for the 2013 Grand Prix World Championship Series. He's the one driver who is really up for a spot here today. He was outside the top 25, 26 coming into this race. He hasn't been able to race much this season on a semi-part-time schedule. However, a good showing by him once again. Another top 10 finish looking as though could be the case there for Max Delorca. Fan favourite as well for this race here today in that 52 car. He is battling with Wes Richards right now for the last of those positions. Wes Richards currently sat in the 18th position, being hounded down by Pierre Ibritzu in the 19th spot. And they're battling for what could just be a point difference here as we come towards the conclusion of this race. But meanwhile, for Richie Stanaway, he is starting over 1.25 hours worth of racing here. He's about to put Andrea Boldi 1 lap down as he comes past the stripe. 3 laps left to go now for Richie Stanaway and that Team Redline driver, Mario. So we can go back to the first couple of races of the season, and Stanaway wasn't doing great. He had that moment in round number 3, but since then he has been on absolute fire ever since.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone would have thought that he's going to perform so well. Obviously, he has been a championship favorite after winning the iRacing Grand Prix Series to get his ticket for the Pro Series. But, I mean, Alexis Usiakola won the first 2 rounds, and from then on, it looked like Usiakola would be the main contender for the title here. As he, however, had to withdraw a couple of races for, just focusing on his real life. Stanway came back. Scored third position in the 3rd race, and alright, I mean, you saw that the guy had the guts, he had the speed to do it, and from then on, he basically changed the whole championship situation. Round 5, round 6, round 7, round 9, 5 races, 4 of them being a winner with Richie Stanaway, and 1 second position. I mean, that's just enough to get the focus on him once again. I mean, he's been out of focus and now he's back into focus, and definitely into focus for the WCS. And just a great last race here again, and a great last couple of races as well. So Richie Stanaway definitely going to deserve this title, as he's got 2 laps to go coming into the Casino Triangle, this time by 2 more laps here at Suzuka. And I'm looking forward to the interview with him again, because there's just so much things you would ask him about this race, and once again, just a good performance by him.
Yeah, but except dominating in this time. But we'll talk about that after the race. But Richie Stanaway, he works his way down into turn number 1. 1.75 laps left to go for him, working his way now into the S's. And I tell you what, Emil Spindauer, last time by, out of absolutely nowhere, did a 1:31.510. His fastest lap of the race so far. He did a 1:31.7 as he came past the stripe once again. But still, Richie Stanaway working his way up the Dunlop curve once again, down towards Stenger number 1. He'll take this 2 gears, he'll come down, then he'll go down into Stenger number 2, trying to get all the way down into 2nd gear, trying to get himself good traction as he comes out of the corner. Mogard DG Filas, Enzo Benito, happened to him there. Enzo Benito looks as though that he's just been working on PJ Sturgis and wasn't able to get past, but very close though, Marius.
Yeah, PJ Sturgis was his teammate, so he's just trying to stick behind him. They are both pretty much out of the contention for the 4th position. They are fighting for the 7th on the track right now, but it's just going to get Sturgis a good set of points and not attacking anymore. However, ahead of them, Del Orco is getting closer to Narumi. Only half a second between Narumi and Del Orco. And as well, Mogafilo and Emil Spindler not really that far apart, just 1 second. But by the looks of it, 1 lap to go for them right now. Spindle might not get the time rear. He's got back into his zone. It's very weird for Spindle. I mean, he's had a good couple of laps early on. He's been struggling from then on, and suddenly he's fully back into the race contention there.
Meanwhile, 1 lap left to go of the 2012 iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Richie Stanaway down into the first couple of corners for the final time this season. He has been absolutely perfect these past 6 races, ever since the first couple of bad races at the start of the season. He's picked himself off, dusted himself down, and that number 2 Redline car has been the car to beat since that moment. Mogard DG Filo still in the 2nd position. Emil Spindel recovering from fast lap times by him. But I tell you what, the the Azura Racing guys, they are still going to be a factor towards the end of this race, because Andrea Boldi is only about 7 tenths of a second ahead of Wes Richards. We talk about how these last couple of points were important. Andrea Boldi and Wes Richards are only separated by 7 tenths of a second. Pierre Ibritzu is very close to these drivers as well, and had a slight look down to the inside as they came down into the hairpin. Richie Stanaway working his way down into the spoon curve for the final time. Spoon curve, kart 1 done, kart 2 done. Down the back straight away he comes. He's got Ryan Terpstra ahead of him. That shouldn't be any issues. He shouldn't catch him before the end of this race, as we believe that Sturgis is into the wall there on the final lap. So this is going to be hugely critical for the point finish. We'll come back to that in a moment, because for the final time, Richie Stanaway comes down into the Casino Triangle. Now he comes out of the Casino Triangle. He's going to win again in the iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing, but more importantly, Richie Stanaway is your 2012 iRacing.com Pro Series champion as he does the victory wiggle there. A great performance by him, but PJ Sturgis out of the race on the last lap, and that could have huge implications there, Marius.
Yeah, I'm just following the spectator chat there. A very weird incident for PJ Sturgis, but that's also going to benefit Wes Richards right now, who has been getting past his teammate Andrea Baldi. Obviously, team orders there. Nothing in this series which isn't allowed. Piero Bizzu also got past. No, Piero Bizzu didn't get past her, so surprisingly there, Wes Richards gained 2 positions by that. And well, take a look at that. It might even be that PJ Sturgis stays ahead of them, because this has been the last lap, Will, and PJ Sturgis has been a lap ahead, so he's obviously going to be rounded back, but he will still stay ahead of Wes Richards, Andrea Baldi, and Piero Bizzu.
Yep, and this is going to, you're right, because the way it works is cars in the lead lap will just go down to the end of the lead lap. We're getting a replay of what happened to PJ Sturgis there, coming up on your screen momentarily, and hugely disappointing because once again it was a great race by PJ Sturgis. On the last lap in the S's, he's worked his way through turn 3 and 4, and then all of a sudden you see that car just slides and rear it climbs up. He tries to correct it, he moves that car first to the right, then to the left, and the car just darts to the right hand side into the time kind barriers for him. Game over for PJ Sturgis. But to have a run through then, your final race results, Richie Stanaway claims victory once again, 11.7 seconds, the gap over Mogar DG Filo. In the 3rd position, Emil Spindel. 4th, Simon Kittel. 5th, Yudan Arumi. 6th is Max Delorco. 7th is Enzo Benito. 8th is Jesper Pedersen. 9th is Marcus Caton, Timo Even, rounding out your top 10. Then Christian Laurent, Dave Geeling, Wesley Zaytoff, Jason Lover, PJ Sturgis are the last of the cars on the lead lap, and then Ryan Terpstra as well. Wes Richards, in fact, Ryan Terpstra does move up into the 15th position. PJ Sturgis goes down into 16th. Wes Richards in 17th. Andrea Baldi in 18th. Pierre Ibritsu 19th. Ken Elish in 20th. Our main retirees, Paul Ilbrink and Yoni Tamala. But once again, we'll start the positives first. Richie Stanaway, once again, a perfect drive by him.
Yeah, it just looks like he's getting comfortable in this situation. I mean, he's starting from the front. He's just breaking free, and as soon as he does break free, he's never looking back, really. So it's going to be a hard job for him. Definitely one of the quickest drivers here. But coming into the WCS, hitting his teammate Gregor Hutto, of course, hitting Hugo Lewis, it's going to be a lot harder for him. And I can't imagine he's going to start a lot of races on pole, because he's just got so many good drivers around him, and he needs to find himself in a whole new position there. And I'm pretty sure he's going to get comfortable with that as well. But this has really been one of the main roles Richie Stanaway had this season, and he's just made a brilliant job in it. And
we hope to talk to Richie Stanaway in a couple of moments' time. In fact, now we can talk to the 2012 iRacing.com Pro Series champion, Mr. Richie Stanaway. Congratulations. And unfortunately, we can't hear Richie. We'll ask him very nicely to turn his microphone up so we can. But Richie, if you can hear me, congratulations. A great season. You are officially now the champion.
Yeah, thanks guys. It's been a fantastic season. Yeah, very happy to have won the championship. There's been a lot of hard work that's gone into winning this championship. A lot of people to thank. I'd just like to thank everybody from Team Redline, especially Atsi for all the help he's been giving me with setup and improving my driving. And also to the team sponsors and yeah, just everybody that's helped me towards taking out this championship. So yeah, I couldn't be happier right now. So yeah, bring on the DWC.
We're not allowed to call it that, but anyway. But we'll start with the race itself. But the race, you said to us last time that you talked to us that you wanted to qualify and pole and lead and do it that way. That is in fact what you did. And it looked as though for a couple of laps you did have the pressure from Yudan Arumi, but from then on, almost a pretty easy ride for you here today.
Yeah, it was very important to have had the pole position because it's extremely difficult to follow at this circuit, particularly through the first sector. I wasn't 100% happy with my qualifying lap. It was quite far off my personal best. I just didn't really do my best possible lap, and but anyway, it was still good enough for pole. And yeah, I just made sure I did a few practice starts after qualifying and before the race to make sure that the start would be okay, because it was very important to have the lead into the first corner. And during the first stint, I was a little bit heavier than Yudai Narumi on fuel, but I also I was just running to 19 laps to get out of traffic after my first stint. But yeah, I was also saving tyres a little bit because it's very hard on tyres here. And during the second and third stint, when I just had some clear air and a nice gap, and was only running 17 lap stints, it was a better possibility for me just to push as hard as I wanted to, and yeah, have some good pace through the middle stint of the race. But towards the end, it was pretty hard to push when I had a big lead, and I needed to just consolidate the position and obviously finish the race. So I was a bit skeptical of pushing too hard in the third stint, but anyway, it was a good race, and yeah, good way to end the season.
And I mean, we've talked before about how your season didn't get off to the best start. Could you realistically have said after the first 3 rounds of the season that you would be the Pro Series champion for this year? And what did you have to do within yourself to be able to regroup and do that charge for these last 6 races?
Yeah, like you said, after the first 2 races, there's no way that I thought I would have any chance of winning the championship, because I'd been on some new, fairly basic hardware just a few days before the first race, and basically the only thing I really wanted to do during this championship was make sure that I was finishing inside the top 25, just so that I could qualify with my license. But as the season went on, we just managed to improve a lot, just with my driving and getting more experience in the car, and getting used to the 3-lap qualifying system. And yeah, I mean, it just ended up going a lot better than I expected this season. And yeah, I mean, just put a lot of hard work into trying to achieve the good results.
And Richie Stanaway is the 2012 iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing champion. Going to hand over to Marius Gonnenbeck. He's going to be with Mogar DG Philo. But first, Marius, I'm sure you've got a couple of words for Richie.
Yeah, congratulations from me as well. And one question for both, maybe to lead over to Moga as well. You're going to see each other in the WCS 2013, and you're obviously going to see a couple of your teammates as well as past season winners. So, for example, Richie, you're going to hit your teammate Gregor Hutu as well as Luke McLean. Atze, of course, is going to be there. Hugo Lewis is going to be there. It's obviously going to be a lot harder for you guys. So, any aims already for the next season?
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a lot harder in the Drivers' World Championship, so or whatever the official name is. But yeah, I mean, obviously the Pro Series level isn't as high, so we need to be realistic in what our performances are like compared with what the benchmark will be for the World Championship. So I'm sure that we've still got a lot we can improve on if we want to, get some podium results in the World Championship. But I guess that's what the Pro Series was all about, was improving ourselves and qualifying ourselves to be competitive in that series. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of hard work ahead of us.
So that was Richie Stanaway, your 2012 iRacing Pro Series of Road Racing winner, ahead of Moga DG Philo, who we've got as well in the booth. So Moga, first of all, congratulations to the runner-up here in the Pro Series.
Hello Marius, Will, and everyone that's watching the broadcast. First of all, I would like to congratulate Richie Stanaway for the championship. He had a very solid performance, especially on the second half of the championship. And I knew when he got stronger that it would be difficult to fight with him for the championship. But also, I would like to thank Team Radicals for the support during the season. They helped me with practice and experience, and was a big factor on my performance. And thanks to Series for the support. This was a tough season, lots of good drivers on the field. like Stanway, David Kopp, Eni Spindel, Enzo Bonito, and Alexei Yakola, and so many others. So I'm quite happy to be on second place on the standings. Today I had a reasonable race. I did a bad qualify, but Suzuka is a very tough track to hit your personal best. So it was quite a bit far, but it was good for a third place. And the first stint was quite hard because Yuda Inarumi was lighter on fuel. I already was thinking about that since he went lighter on fuel most races than me. And tried to keep a safe distance in case he did mistakes. After the second round of pit stops, he did a mistake at turn 9, and I could overtake him. And from then on, it was just managing the second position. And I'm happy with another podium, 8 top 5s, 2 poles, but I think that I still have things to improve for the next season, where we will have on track the previous champions, legends on sim racing like GlacierTV, Hugo Luis. So it will be very exciting to be on track with those guys, but being realistic, I will not be fighting with them for positions, but I kind of expect to be fighting on the top 10.
So you said it yourself, you've basically had a very consistent season. So out of 10 races, you had 8 top 5 finishes, the most top 5 finishes in the whole series. However, didn't get any win. How did that end your series? I mean, were you looking to get to Suzuka to get the win, or how was your strategy for the race?
Actually, I already knew that Suzuka is not my best performing track, so I focused a lot on get a safe racing setup. And during the race, when I saw that both Stanway and Yudai did good starts and it would be hard to fight with them, I got pretty much focused on finishing the race and scoring the points. Any point is important on a championship like that, and I was willing to ensure I was going to finish second place on standings. So I decided not to try silly things and be consistent.
So, an important question for you, of course, as a Brazilian. We have got Interlagos in the production queue, and we're obviously going to look towards a race in the WCS on Interlagos. And I can't imagine that Hugo or you are looking towards anything different than a 1-2 on that.
It would be my dream, but I know that beating Atsi, Kerkhoff, and GlacierTV is quite difficult. But Interlagos is a lovely track. Expect to be a very fun race there with overtaking opportunities, opportunities for different strategies. So I'm quite optimistic. We will have a great race, both for the drivers, and also for the spectators there.
So, Mogadidi Filo, runner-up in the 2012 iRacing Pro Series of road racing. However, a great race from you once again, a very solid performance throughout the season, and a well-deserved runner-up here. And that leads me over to Will once again, who's got Teemu Iivonen with him.
Yeah, before I get to that, do you realise that we've got ourselves a Diat club driver, a Finnish club driver, a Brazilian club driver, and a UKNI club driver?
Oh god, I know what's coming.
It's degenerating from here very quickly, Moga. You looking forward to the World Cup later on tonight?
Yeah, I'll be doing the road race, although I focus pretty much on practicing for the pro race. Now I have lunch and later I will practice for the World Cup race. So expect to do some points for my club.
Packed day.
Packed day. Indeed, and good luck to you and all of Club Brazil in the World Cup finals later on today. Meanwhile, Mr. Timo Ivanon. Hello.
Hello, guys.
Your race today, let's go through it a little bit. You qualified in the 17th position, you came home in the top 10. You got to be pretty happy.
Yeah, considering the fact that my last 3 races has been very, very bad, I'm just happy to bring it home in one piece. So not too bad, no.
A lot of things are going on around you. You had some interesting battles with Catan and Laurent and Pedersen throughout the race. Also, drivers deciding that they wanted to put it into the wall, coming out of Denga 2 throughout the race. And this is also one of the most physically demanding racetracks there is in the entire series. So, I mean, yeah, take us through your race very briefly.
Yeah, it is. It's a really hard track to drive. It's so technical and fast, and we had our setup set so it was working pretty good when following someone, and then when driving alone, it was pretty oversteered. So the transition from being stuck behind someone to getting free air all the time was quite hard for me to get down. But I still had some good races with Christian and also Miguel, who I accidentally hit on the rear wing. Sorry for that, Miguel. It looked like he opened up the gap on the inside in the S's, and then he closed it when I was there, so I had to stamp on the brakes and unfortunately hit him. So sorry for that. And then just trying to get past Caton, who was pretty much on the same pit stop as me. And but with the dirty air here, it's really hard to make a pass. It's pretty much the guy in front needs to make a mistake for you to get a really good run.
And feeding this race into the overall season, I mean, what are your overall thoughts coming out of it?
Pretty positive, because in the fact that I noticed that once I actually put time into it and do proper testing and practice, I can run top 10s in pro. So it's just about getting the motivation and everything down to be able to do the practice that's needed to get good results. Unfortunately, stuff like Spa happens easy, which I probably put the most practice into during the whole season and got taken out in turn 1. But hey, that's racing, stuff happens. So it's been a really fun season to drive those, so I'm not complaining at all. It's been really fun and really looking forward to DVC.
And of course, we will see you in the WCS, we have to call it now, the World Championship Series. We'll see you in that in 2013. Before that, are you representing club and country later on?
Of course.
Where are you going to finish?
I'm listening.
That's a really hard question. Depends on who races.
Depends on who races. I like that.
Yeah.
That wasn't too controversial. But Timo, thank you very much for talking to us. Just to let all you viewers know, we have 2 club captains in here as well, who are the 2 favourites going into this. You've got Marius, club captain for Diat, and Joni, club captain for Finland. I'm in the middle of all of this, and I had to deal with these 2 throughout the rest of this evening, so it's going to be highly entertaining. And of course, it is almost time for us to go. Unfortunately, we can only have ourselves a couple of moments with Jesper Pedersen. Marius, be quick, go!
Yeah, Jesper Pedersen with us right now, and Jesper, you as well had a very interesting race today. We've seen you going around too wide against Joni Termele in the first turn, and later then having an intense battle with Termele throughout the entire lap there. And we thought you had a little bit of contact, so yeah, that not only damaged your car but also the car from Joni there. Tell us a bit of what happened from your view.
Yeah, I had a good exit of the last chicane, and I was close behind him, and I got too wide with him down the main straight, and I thought I need to get through by him now because I was on light fuel on the middle stint. So I kept pushing on the outside throughout turn 1 and turn 2, but did not quite make it, but we was very close there. And then I could stay close to him until the hairpin, where he stepped out a little bit, and I hit him a little, and his rear again got a little bit more wide, stepped more out, and I got a good run on him. And when I got on the side of him, he just forced me out in the grass. So yeah, not fair, very fair, but yeah, that's racing. And then in the last chicane, I managed to get past him. And I think maybe he got a little damage. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, that's racing.
You said it, that's racing, and taking a look overall at the season, of course. You had a sort of up and down performance, not only performance but also season. However, had a good result, especially in the last couple of rounds. Had a few very up moments, finishing, I think, 13th in the series right now. Obviously also getting the ticket for the WCS, the World Championship Series of iRacing this season. You're going to hit a few drivers you've been driven against in this series, and of course the drivers coming down from the Drivers' World Championship Series. We've talked about that with Richie and Moga, so what are your expectations in the upcoming season?
My expectations is very high because Apex Racing UK is a team who's moving forward really quickly, and we're still learning about the setups and how to improve ourselves. So hopefully next season will even be better, and I think my teammates Pierre is also very happy for managing to get into the top 25.
So, Jesper Pedersen, the last guest for not only this broadcast, but also the entire Pro Series season, Will. 10 rounds here, and it would be good to just put a line under that. I think we've seen a very interesting season there. 32 drivers trying to qualify for the Drivers' World Championship, and it just looks like this format is really, really working. I mean, basically we've had not only the top battles between Stanaway, Filo, De Corp, Spindle, Bonito, but also in the mid-pack, especially where Jesper comes from, just really, really good battles throughout the entire season. We haven't particularly seen so much spectacular overtakes, but I mean, for 100% of the race distance, seeing cars within seconds, within hundredth, that's a lot to ask for.
Indeed, yeah. And I mean, you started the season with Alexei Giacola absolutely dominating. Unfortunately, he had to go to a part-time schedule. In fact, I think in some ways the fact that he did made the season even more exciting, because what you ended up with 5 drivers who all on their day could go to win a circle. You had Richie Stanaway, you know, he's just been the class for the second half of the season. Mogar DG Filo, who's always been thereabouts. David De Corps has had some superb finishes. And what's been down Lorenzo Benito as well. And you go down and you see drivers like Sam Cattell, Yudan Arumi, PJ Sturgios, Dave Geeling, Thiago Ferro, all in the top 10. And you always see them in the racing as well. And I think the way that this season has been is that it's been very closely separated at the front, very closely separated in the mid-pack, and you know what that's done is it's led to some great racing. You're completely right. It's not been overtaking every 4 corners or whatever, but when there has been overtaking, there have been spectacular overtakes, and more importantly as well, these drivers have had to think their way through the races as much as just put the pedal to the metal and turn left and right. And I think that's what makes these races from being good sim racers to true sim racers.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good quote to end on. I think the participants have learned a whole lot towards the Drivers' World Championship. We will bring you that 14 out of the 6. What?
It's not Drivers' World Championship.
Well, it is the World Championship, is it?
It's the World Championship Series, my dear.
It is the World Championship Series. However we're going to call it, we still will see a packed racing between 26 out of the Pro Series drivers, 25 out of the Drivers' World Championship drivers from 2012. Yes, Will, that has been called different in the past. However, 51 drivers will attend the series, and we will bring you 14 out of 16 rounds there, starting from March. We've got a couple of new tracks, a couple of new things there to talk about. Of course, a couple of new features from our side as well. So stay tuned for that. About 2 months to go till we start on that. But well, sticking with today, we've got a packed schedule, so we just probably grab something to eat, grab a quick shower, and we will be back at 6 p.m. GMT with the Raw, the 2.4 pre-event, 60 minutes at Daytona with the Mustang, with the Jetta TDE, and with the Mazda MX-5, 3 of the most popular cars on iRacing. And we're going to see a couple of drivers not only from the DWC or the Pro Series in it, but it is, I'm talking about the past still, that the season hasn't begun yet, so thank you. So, however, a couple of drivers from these seasons in there and a couple of specialists from the cars, and Yeah, we've had a couple of races on Daytona already, and I remember every one of them absolutely stunning.
Yeah, indeed. And we're going to be joined by Dan Blake for that one as well in the commentary booth. And the Raw Before the 2.4, it not only kicks off the, what in real life is the racing season, it kicks off our World Tour season as well. We're bringing you 6 of the 7 World Tour events for this year. The Indy 500 will be brought to you by our friends at GlacierTV. We'll be bringing you the Raw Before the 2.4, the 2.4 hours of Daytona, the Daytona 500, the Pocono 400 and the IndyCars, the Talladega 500, and then also the Grand Prix of Brazil to conclude our World Tour season. So the Raw Before the 2.4, 6 p.m. GMT tonight. That will be on Channel 1, by the way. And then after all of that is done, this is when things start getting really violent between us. We've got ourselves the World Cup Finals. I alluded to it earlier. We've got the Diat club manager. We've got the Finnish club manager. I'm representing Club UK and we're going to have ourselves a Brazilian here as well. 2 races. First of all, on the road course, the Honda HPD LMP2 car. We're going around Road America, and then later on we're going to have the Chevrolet Impala Nationwide car going around Texas Motor Speedway to determine who is the best club in iRacing. And it's been very interesting to see the battle between Club Finland and Club Diat this season. It's going to be highly entertaining to call. We'll bring you all here live on Glacier TV. And on that very sorry note, it is time for us to go. And Marius and I will both agree it's been an absolutely fascinating season here in the iRacing.com of road racing. It's been an absolute honour to bring you the coverage these past 12 weeks, and we'll be back. Don't forget, 14 races of the 2013 Grand Prix World Championship Series. I've been Will Vincent. He's been Marius Gollenbach, the guy who we haven't seen all season, deserves the biggest thank you of all. Yoni Backman on cameras. Farewell. Bye.
Goodbye.
It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing